Man, tonight I felt like I was transported back in time 25 years, sitting in front of my old TV, going back and forth, flipping channels between USA and TNT. Only tonight, it was USA and TBS. And the only difference is, back then, I didn't have to worry about going live and getting all my notes together. I don't ever want to do this again. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't ever want to do this again. It's one thing to watch the shows and flip back and forth, but to try to keep track of what's going on a normal episode of Dynamite is difficult enough. Now I'm factoring in another 2-hour show. What the hell was I thinking? You know, we had Edge on television on one show in one main event, and we had The Undertaker in the main event segment on the other show. So I felt like I was back in 2008. And you know, I'm not usually live here on a Tuesday. As many of you know, I don't typically go live for NXT. If anything, I talk about it on the Sunday show. But Dynamite got bumped. Tomorrow night, they're airing baseball, so instead, Dynamite went on tonight. And it wound up going head-to-head with NXT. AEW invaded WWE's night. And WWE decided to go for the jugular by loading up NXT in a way that it has never been loaded up before. This was the biggest, most star-studded episode of NXT that this company has ever put together. They had John Cena on the show. They had Cody Rhodes on the show. They had Paul Heyman on the show. They had Asuka on the show. We had The Undertaker on the show. We had Jade Cargill make an appearance on the show. Much like Fastlane, she didn't do much. We saw her once and we never saw her again. I mean, technically, even Shawn Michaels was on the show. We even got to see HBK there, briefly, during the program. But it's about time we got The Undertaker in NXT. You know, this guy never learned how to run the ropes properly, so it's about time that somebody schools him on how to run the ropes. It's been long enough. It's about time The Undertaker went to NXT. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they did their very best to ruin Tony Khan's birthday. It is Tony Khan's birthday, as they mentioned on the program tonight. And they did their best to ruin it for him by stacking the show in the way that they did. Not only that, but yesterday, NXT tweeted out some breaking news. And the breaking news was that the show was going to go 30 minutes commercial free to open up the program. And so a few hours later, Tony Khan, during Raw last night, he jumped on Twitter and he announced that Dynamite would be airing the first 30 minutes commercial free. But not only would the opening half hour of the show be airing commercial free, Dynamite would have a 10-minute overrun, which it never does. NXT does sometimes, 7 or 8 minutes. It was going to have a 10-minute overrun, and they were going to have a buy-in pre-show for an episode of Dynamite. I don't know what we were buying into. There was no pay-per-view. There was nothing to buy. But they had a buy-in tonight as well. And then earlier today, there was a report from Nick Hausman on his House of Wrestling website. And the headline of the article was Triple H and Shawn Michaels look to send Tony Khan a message. And in the report, it said that a fired-up WWE source, fired up, close to NXT, said that tonight would be, quote, a very clear example of how and why WWE is WWE and why AEW has a long way to go. They discussed how they felt AEW had been lulled into a false sense of reality that they were somehow an industry leader by continuing to beat WWE's number 3 brand in viewership. Tony Khan did not take this very well. Tony Khan tweeted his displeasure. He tweeted a response. He quote tweeted this report. And this is what Tony Khan posted in response to this earlier today. He responded by tweeting an image from Curb Your Enthusiasm, calling each of them, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, a bald asshole. Yes, that really happened. That is not a photoshopped image. It has been a wild 24 hours, to say the least. And with both shows now in the books, tonight played out exactly the way that I thought it would. NXT, if you were someone watching the shows tonight looking for star power, NXT was the show for you. Look at all the names that you had on the show tonight. If you wanted star power, you got that in spades watching NXT. If your goal tonight was to watch a show for the best professional wrestling bell to bell in the ring that you were going to find on a Tuesday night, Dynamite was your show. Because you had plenty of options, whether it was Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland, even the main event. Adam Copeland and Luchasaurus had a very good match. Hangman Page and Switchblade Jay White, Orange Cassidy and Rey Fenix. If that is what you were interested in, Saraya and Hikaru Shida had a good match as well. Dynamite wins the night as far as in-ring is concerned. On the whole, it's hard for me to say which show wins the night, at the end of the day, all told, with everything involved, because I was entertained by both shows. I liked NXT and I liked AEW. Me personally, I was looking for a little more in the in-ring side, so my preference would be Dynamite, but I thought NXT was a fun show as well. They did a good job of not only highlighting some big names to try to juice the show up a little bit, but they also put the shine on a lot of their current roster talents, a lot of their younger talents, like Carmelo Hayes, like Ilya Dragunov. They had a great video package hyping up the Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria match at Halloween Havoc in 2 weeks. They largely kept the focus on their core talents on the show. And they used the bigger names, the current main roster names, largely to try to enhance those people and not get themselves over. And we'll talk about what happened at the end of the show with the Undertaker, because I know some people are probably going to freak out about that. But again, that's how I look at it. If you wanted your sports entertainment, big names, cameos and stuff, NXT was a lot of fun for you. Dynamite, though, had the better in-ring action. And as far as Dynamite goes, it was Title Tuesday. That was the name of the show. This was, I believe, the second year in a row that AEW had a Title Tuesday episode. And we had new champions crowned. We have a new international champion. His name is Orange Cassidy. And if you are wondering, wait a minute, I thought Jon Moxley and Rey Fenix was the match. That is correct. That did not happen, because Jon Moxley was not medically cleared. So Orange Cassidy, after how many months did he have that title? 10 months? 9 months? Is once again the international champion. And Hikaru Shida, who lost her title at Wembley Stadium to Saraya, is once again, not only is she the champion, she is the first ever 3-time AEW Women's World Champion. And that is a decision that I can get behind, because Shida never should have lost the belt in the first place. Never should have lost the belt. What a hell of a reign for Saraya. It's pretty clear why she won the belt, and there was no real plan to do anything with her. They just wanted that big moment at Wembley. I'm sure she'll cherish that moment forever. Now we got the belt back on somebody who will actually wrestle more frequently on the shows, and again, who deserved a longer, lengthier reign with the title. So I was happy to see that. We also got Adam Copeland's first match, his debut, in-ring debut in AEW, in the main event against Luchasaurus. So those are the highlights, and we'll get into everything else on Dynamite. As far as NXT, Cody Rhodes was on the show. He had actually a series of announcements to make, ending with him being made the general manager by Shawn Michaels for one night. He was the GM for NXT. We had John Cena. We had LA Knight, who was not announced in advance for the show. We had Asuka wrestling Roxanne Perez. And as I mentioned, Paul Heyman and Jade Cargill was on the show as well. Tonight, we are talking Dynamite. We are talking NXT. It is October 10th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Do me a favor, please, for all the work I put into this tonight. Subscribe, like, at least 400 likes, and we'll do Be the Booker later. And super chats are open as well. Thank you for all the ones that have already come in. I will be reading your messages. What did you think? Who do you think won the night between WWE and AEW? Let me know. And we'll go through those a little bit later on. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to begin with what I would normally review each week. We're going to start with AEW. We're going to save NXT for last. AEW actually got the jump on NXT because they had a 30-minute head start with the buy-in pre-show, which aired all across their social media channels, with Eddie Kingston defending his Ring of Honor World and New Japan Strong Openweight Championships against Minoru Suzuki. We've seen Minoru Suzuki wrestle in AEW many times before. He's had some very fun matches. I remember one in particular he had with Bryan Danielson. So I was looking forward to this. I figured this would be fun. I knew exactly what it would be. Kingston immediately, he lowers the straps on his singlet. Suzuki gives him the first chop, and then may the games begin. If you like chops, I hope you like chops. You might not like pork chops, but I hope you like knife edge chops, because you got a lot of them here in this match. If you're not into the chop fests, this was not the match for you. Suzuki laughed at Kingston after taking some elbows, and he threw a series of punches. He dropped Eddie. Tony Schiavone is funny because halfway into this match, these guys are elbowing and forearming and chopping each other. And Tony Schiavone goes, I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm the old geezer here, but he said, I don't think either one of these guys has tried for a pinning predicament at this point. I don't think either one has actually tried to win the match. And Excalibur joked on commentary, he wondered if Jim Ross was on the show. Little shade there at good old JR. Hopefully JR will take that in stride. That's how JR comes. I mean, that's JR on commentary. I mean, he's the cranky old guy who doesn't care. He speaks his mind. He'll talk about how it's stupid to do this. How come they did that? We get too much of this. Basically, what he would talk about on his podcast, he just talks about it on commentary. So Suzuki set up for the Gotch-style pile driver. Kingston backdropped him, and Eddie dropped Suzuki with a spinning back fist. Only got two. Kingston connected with a second spinning back fist. This time Suzuki kicked out at one. And he ducked a spinning back fist. Kingston, though, connected with another anyway. And Eddie hit a Northern Lights bomb and scored the pin. When the match was over, Suzuki climbed back into the ring. He came nose to nose with Eddie Kingston. He smiled, he started clapping for him, and then he chopped him right in the chest. And so Eddie gave him a chop to the chest, and I thought, here we go again. We're starting over here. We're starting from the very beginning. But then they smiled at each other, and they hugged, and he raised Suzuki's arm. So this was fun for what it was. Again, you knew exactly what this was going to be coming into it. It was going to be a lot of chops. It was going to be a lot of strikes. I don't believe Eddie has wrestled Suzuki before, so I think for him it was a first-time ever match. And look, for a match that we didn't even know about until yesterday, that was thrown onto a pre-show that we didn't even know existed, this was fun for what it was. Now, Tony Schiavone was backstage after this with the other Tony. He was backstage with Tony Khan, who issued a challenge to Triple H to a fight. No, although you know he wanted to. Triple H can't fight anymore because of his ticker, but you know Tony Khan wanted to pull an Eric Bischoff on this show, get a few White Claws at him. You know, come on, go out there, get on the microphone, challenge Shawn Michaels, challenge Triple H. Come on, you bald asshole. Come on down to Full Gear. I'll be waiting in the ring, right? He wanted to do it, but he showed some restraint. But here in this segment, Tony Khan had some bad news. He was like Bad News Barrett. And the bad news is that Jon Moxley, who was concussed at Grand Slam last month in the match with Rey Fenix, is still not cleared medically, even though he was scheduled to challenge for the championship tonight on Dynamite. So Jon Moxley, still not cleared, not allowed to wrestle. However, the international title would be defended on this show. He just did not tell us who the challenger would be. Lucky for him, Hook showed up with Orange Cassidy. And Hook was eating a bag of chips. I think it was a bag of Doritos. And he said, come on, Tony. Orange never got a rematch. He deserves a rematch for the international title. And Tony Khan thought that was a great idea. And he asked Orange Cassidy if he wanted the match. And Orange Cassidy said yes, so it was made official. So he was the substitute for Jon Moxley on this show. At the top of the hour, Dynamite opened with Christian Cage in the production truck. Had the TNT title over his shoulder. He said it would be fine with him if Swerve Strickland became #1 contender tonight against Bryan Danielson. Because he left a bad taste in his mouth by losing the tag team match.
It's Samoa Bro.
By losing the tag team match. They were partners at Wembley Stadium in the coffin match against Sting and Darby Allin. It was Swerve Strickland who lost the match for his team. And then he said,
It's
the amazing Gunther. No, that's not what he said.
Loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Drew Johnson with the $50 Gunther bomb. Getting started early here on the stream. Hey, Drew. Thank you, my friend. Haven't seen Drew in a while. I hope Drew is doing well. Thank you, sir. What I was going to say here is Christian Cage said that a little birdie told him that Bryan Danielson fancies himself the best wrestler in the world. But the TNT title says otherwise. He said Luchasaurus would take down Adam Copeland, and he threatened to be at ringside for the match. He took credit for talking to Warner Brothers Discovery and getting the first 30 minutes of the show to be commercial-free. And then he said, and I quote, "One of you assholes in the truck, start the show." Of course, those assholes were sitting directly behind him. And that took us into the intro for the program. You know, if Christian Cage has an in with Warner Brothers Discovery, he should probably have a conversation with them about all these audio issues that they have been having now for the last few months. I don't think they had any tonight. Maybe they're on their best behavior now. We opened with Bryan Danielson against Swerve Strickland. This kicked us off. This was the perfect way to open the show because the first 30 minutes was commercial-free. I like a Bryan Danielson Swerve Strickland match with no commercials. It's like a pay-per-view match. So this was the perfect opener to this show. There was a test of strength to start things off. Danielson hit a monkey flip. Both men ended up in a face-off stance. Strickland got a cheap shot. Danielson got sent to the apron. They were trading chops before Strickland hit a side suplex on the edge of the ring. And Swerve hit a power slam and a brainbuster for a near fall. Danielson got hooked into a chicken wing. Danielson then tried a high kick. Strickland, though, caught it, and he countered into a cradle backbreaker. So Swerve went up top a few minutes later. He went for a 450 splash. Danielson got the knees up. Strickland was forced to regroup outside. And he got met by a diving Danielson who dove with a knee strike off the apron. Danielson connected with a missile drop kick in the ring. He unleashed the yes kicks. He did his moonsault out of the corner that we've seen him do so many times before. He went for a charge. Strickland, though, punted him in the bad ribs. He was selling his ribs throughout the entire match. Danielson got hung up in a tree of woe. Strickland hit a swerve stomp on the ring apron. Back inside, when he tried again, Danielson was anticipating the stomp this time. Countered into a single leg crab, and then he transitioned into a heel hook. So Danielson was going to go up top, and he took too long going up top. Strickland tried a superplex. Danielson hit an avalanche back suplex, and he got the label lock. Strickland got a foot on the rope. Danielson hit one of his corner drop kicks before just crumbling to the mat, clutching his ribs. And that allowed Strickland to hit the house call kick. Swerve stomp off the top, got a very close near fall out of it. Swerve followed with a very impressive counter to a float over in the corner into a sit-out slam, and Prince Nana distracts Aubrey Edwards. Strickland got Nana's crown, and he was going to use it as a weapon until Hangman Page ran down to the ring, and he grabbed the crown away from him. He was not going to let Swerve steal a win against Danielson the way that he did against him at WrestleDream, because that's how he won. Danielson countered the JML driver into a roll-up, got two, but he popped up and hit the Busaiku knee for the victory. This was excellent stuff, as expected from these two, and this, I believe, was their first time in the ring together, no less. The Hangman interference, and this is what I was kind of hoping would happen here, because I didn't see them doing heel against heel on Collision next week. I figured Danielson was going over here. And Hangman had a match scheduled for the show. He got screwed over at WrestleDream, so it only makes sense that he would get involved here. And the interference ultimately led to Swerve losing the match. So that prolongs the program between them, which means we're going to get at least one more match. They had an excellent match in Seattle. So I am looking forward to seeing their next match together. And so clearly and we'll talk more about these two later because Hangman had a match. But I was very happy to see that they're going to be keeping this feud going. And so now it's going to be Bryan Danielson one-on-one with Christian Cage on Collision this Saturday for the TNT Championship. We got another video package with Samoa Joe, not Samoa Bro, but Samoa Joe. And this Saturday on Collision, he said he begins his road to championship gold. He's coming after the AEW World Title. He still has his sights set on MJF. And I hope so. I hope so. Because Samoa Joe is too good to be simply relegated back to Ring of Honor. Even though he is the Ring of Honor television champion, you got to keep him on Dynamite. You got to keep him on Collision. Keep him, even if he's not wrestling for the world title, keep him in the mix. You know, when Adam Copeland debuted at Wrestle Dream and he was in the media scrum, he was so happy. He was listing off all these different people he never had a chance to work with. One of those people is Samoa Joe. There's plenty of people on the main AEW roster for him to be working with. So I'm all for doing more with Samoa Joe. Chris Jericho is in action. One-on-one with Powerhouse Hobbs, the newest member of the Don Callis family. He joined the family last week. Hobbs wasted no time. He unloaded on Jericho in the corner, planted him with a spine buster, and I thought this was going to be a quick squash. What a way to put over Powerhouse Hobbs. And Jericho kicked out. Hobbs took his time, though. He connected with another spine buster. Callis outside the ring was demanding that Jericho beg for his life. Hobbs hit some sledgehammer blows before hitting a third spine buster. Callis yelled that the end is coming. The end is near for Jericho. Then came the fourth spine buster. This was like a Wardlow powerbomb symphony, only with spine busters instead of powerbombs. So Jericho did manage a comeback. Now he's taken 4 spine busters at this point, right? This is Powerhouse Hobbs' finishing move. This is his devastating signature maneuver. And Jericho has now taken 4 of them. And he's still fighting back. So he throws some forearms. He dodged Hobbs in the corner, hit a code breaker for 2. Hobbs hit a 5th spine buster. And Jericho came back. He avoided a power slam. He got a few chop blocks. Got the walls of Jericho. Hobbs rolled and used his power to escape. Led to a world's strongest slam for 2. Hobbs hit another slam. Put his knee on the face of Jericho, and he pinned him. Total dominance here. He pinned him. This was like Ludwig Borga ending Tatanka's 2-year undefeated streak by pinning him with his finger. It might have been his pinky. I don't remember if it was his pinky or which finger it was. With a finger, he pinned Tatanka. And here, Hobbs pinned him with a knee on the face. And when the match was over, he hit one more world's strongest slam. So he demolished Jericho. I was not a fan of him eating 5 spine busters or 4 spine busters, whatever it was. I think that was too excessive. I would have done a better job of protecting the move. In the end, they got the correct outcome here, which was a dominant win for Powerhouse Hobbs. So they got to where they needed to go with this. This was a huge win for him. This was a must win because you're establishing him now. He's the newest member of this faction, right? The guy's a badass, right? He's this big, tough guy that they've added to this faction. Now he's like the enforcer of the Callis family. And you can't send him out there the very next week to lose to 52-year-old Chris Jericho. So this is what it needed to be. I just would have done a better job of protecting the spine buster. But other than that, I have no complaints about what they did here. We got another Adam Cole vignette. He still is not allowed to have surgery here because Roderick Strong has more things for him to do. This was Cole, this was Roddy, this was the Kingdom. And the surgery, by the way, that I think he's already had. So everybody's saying, oh, why are they prolonging this? It must be a work because he would have had surgery by now. I'm convinced he's already had the surgery. We don't know when all these videos, I'm sure these videos were probably recorded in one day, 2 weeks ago. So I'm thinking he's already had whatever, at least the first surgery. He said he might need more than one. But this time it was Roddy demanding that Cole cut his grass before he leaves to go get surgery. Cole is shown mowing the grass on one leg. He's on his scooter. As Cole finished and said that he needed to go change, Roddy said that he had something for him. And what he had for him was a Neck Strong t-shirt. Cole asked Matt Taven, why do you have a stuffed giraffe? And Taven said that the giraffe had the strongest neck. Which I believe is true, actually. Cole wanted to watch Dynamite, but Strong said television is the devil. Cole said that, actually, Twitter is the devil. Cole said that he's going to go get surgery on his ankle, but Roddy stopped him and said, wait, I just need one more thing from you. And before we could find out what that one more thing was, the segment came to an end. So I don't know how many more of these they have in the can that they filmed. But like I said, I'm convinced that Cole has already had surgery and they just filmed a bunch of shit so they can keep him on television for a little while longer. We had the International Championship on the line. It was supposed to be Rey Fenix defending his title against Jon Moxley. Instead, Moxley is not medically cleared, and so Orange Cassidy, the former champion, took his place. Cassidy wasted no time unloading forearms. Fenix tried a German suplex, but his back gave out on him. So Fenix, or at least the story they're telling on television, and he may well have injuries, but the story they're telling on TV is that Rey Fenix is just beaten to just shit. His body is just breaking down on him. If this sounds familiar, this is the same story they told with Orange Cassidy before he lost the international title. So whether it's true or not, they're telling the same story now with Rey Fenix that they just told with this guy. So here he has the bad back, right? His back is giving out on him. Cassidy missed a charge in the ropes that allowed Fenix to hit a rope walk punt kick to the arm. Fenix hit a thrust kick and a huge frog splash for a near fall. Fenix sold the back again. Cassidy sent him outside and sent Fenix into the guardrail and the ring post. Fenix went to the apron. Cassidy, though, swept the leg out, and Fenix, he took a bump and landed right on his head. Back inside, Cassidy went to the ropes. He got cut off. Fenix wanted a muscle buster, but his back gave out on him. Cassidy hit a diving DDT and then a tornado DDT. He spiked Fenix. Fenix avoided an orange punch. He tried the rolling cutter, and again, sound like a broken record here, but his back gave out on him. Cassidy hit beach break, only got 2. But he was quick to follow up. He hit the orange punch, and he got the mousetrap to get the pin and regain the International Championship. After the match, Best Friends, Rocky Romero, Hook, they all came out, celebrated with Cassidy, who now is officially a 2-time International Champion. I was not expecting that. I was expecting a title change on this show, but I was not expecting them to put the belt right back on Orange Cassidy. This was a sprint here between these two. I think it sucks that Moxley wasn't cleared, and I know that messed up their plans because they had plans for him and the title, and he had to call an audible, and that's why he lost the championship. But I don't see the point. I don't see the point in putting the belt back on Orange Cassidy. He held it for so long. He had that long run. He really helped establish that title. He was having some great matches on TV. And it was time. It was time to move on. It was time to get the belt on somebody else. And now here we are, and it's right back on Orange Cassidy again. You know, now he's the international champion yet again. And so, look, coming into this show, Jon Moxley was winning that title. Jon Moxley was absolutely getting the international title back tonight. And then they could have continued on with whatever plans they had for him, and they couldn't do that. I am assuming that Rey Fenix is hurting for real, and it's not just part of the storyline. He's hurting, and they've incorporated it into the storyline, and that's why they rushed the belt off of him. I would like to think that that's the case. Otherwise, I don't like this, because I don't see the purpose in putting the belt right back on Orange Cassidy. This is now 3 international title changes in the span of a month. And very likely, when Moxley is cleared in the next week or 2, it'll be 4, because he's getting that belt back. 3 title changes for this championship in a month after Orange Cassidy held it for almost a year. I just don't see the point in putting it back on him. RJ City was backstage, and he was with Timeless Toni Storm, one of my favorite characters today in all of wrestling. She said that she's made her own short film entitled Lover's Lament, which is a silent film. It says, who needs all the noise when you have faces? This happened during the picture-in-picture. So what happened here is, I was going back and forth between the 2 shows. I had Dynamite on a spare laptop, right? 16-inch screen. I watched NXT on my iPhone Okay, this is the hodgepodge I put together here to watch these two shows simultaneously so I can use my actual computer to just type my notes. I didn't want to watch it on here because then I got to open the tab and close the tab and then I'm listening to the show. So I have Dynamite on this laptop over here. I've got NXT on my freaking little 13-inch iPhone screen in front of me. And I'm going back and forth. And I look at Dynamite and I see they go to picture in picture. And in the other box is Toni Storm, her little film. And I didn't realize at first, it's a silent film. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They are showing Toni Storm's vignette during picture in picture. Then I picked up on the fact that, okay, this is done on purpose. It's a way, it is actually kind of clever. It was a clever way for them to keep people watching because if you wanted to see what Toni was going to be doing in the box, you would stick with the show and watch. But at first I saw that and I said, the disrespect. What are these people doing here? This woman is one of the best parts of the show and you're going to play her stuff out during picture in picture? What's wrong with you? Can't be doing that. We had Wardlow against Matt Sydal. We had Wardlow back on the show last week. He came out. Poor Griff Garrison, right? He got mauled, powerbombed into oblivion, and then Wardlow left through the crowd. And he was completely expressionless. The fans, I don't really think, knew quite how to take to him, although they enjoyed watching him powerbomb this kid. There's something different about Wardlow. He comes out now. He's got the white, maybe it's the white boots. I don't know. There's just something different about it. I guess his hair is also different because the ponytail got cut off earlier in the year. Wardlow used to come out. He looked like a badass. He was all, I don't know. He was all like swole and everything. And now he comes out there. He just looks like a random guy you would see on Dark. He doesn't even look like a star the way that he used to. It's almost like it's just been beaten out of him. I'm hoping they can salvage this guy. But I don't know. Comes out there. It's him against Matt Sydal. 4 power bombs and it's over. Just like last week. Leaves through the crowd. And that's it. So this is one way to try to get the guy back over again. It's just to have him go out there and just beat the hell out of people. Hopefully Tony Khan has... Tony Storm may have a better booking plan for Wardlow than Tony Khan does. But I'm hoping Tony Khan has some real plan for this guy. And isn't just sort of, throwing him out there and winging it. And hopefully this great, wonderful idea will come to him eventually. Renee was backstage. She was trying to get a medical update on Chris Jericho, who is sitting in a chair, licking his wounds, being tended to by the trainer. Daniel Garcia walked up. He was concerned. He wanted to check on Jericho, even though they're no longer part of the same faction. No sooner does he show up, but Matt Menard shows up. And he's very upset that Daniel Garcia is even attempting to check and see how Chris Jericho is. He says, Garcia says he just wanted to make sure he was okay. Menard told him, "You're better than that." And he walked off. And then Garcia walked off as well, as Jericho sat there being tended to by a trainer. We would have a tragic update on Chris Jericho and his health later in the show. Hangman Adam Page, one-on-one against Switchblade Jay White, who is still carrying around MJF's big Burberry belt. He stole the belt. Juice Robinson and the Guns, they all rode to the ring on tricycles. Robinson had cardboard Switchblade with him. After a break, we come back. Jay White is hitting a dragon screw. And he was doing some air guitar to mock Hiroshi Tanahashi. Page responded with a series of chops. Death Valley Driver for the double down. Page connected on the fallaway slam. He kicked up, hit a running shooting star press for 2. Jay White rolled outside. He dodged a slingshot crossbody. Page, though, ended up nailing a powerbomb on the apron. And Page got a close 2 count with a sit-out powerbomb in the ring. White escaped Deadeye by going after Hangman's leg, this time following up with a suplex in the corner. And out on the apron, Jay White hit a knee breaker on the edge of the ring, and that took us into our second commercial break of the match. No, Jericho is not dead. But the way they portrayed it, when Excalibur, or I think it was Excalibur, started to give us an update later in the show, you would think that the guy had passed away. I mean, it was ridiculous. So both men battled to the top rope. Page connected on an avalanche fall-away slam, but he came up clutching his knee. That delay allowed Jay White to recover, and he hit a Uranagi for 2. White wanted a half and half. Page countered with forearms and a buckshot attempt, and Jay White cut him off with a dragon screw in the ropes. Jay White wanted an avalanche Uranagi, but Page guillotined him on the ropes, and in the process, he fell all the way down to the floor. Jay White did. That allowed Hangman to hit the Orihara moonsault to the floor. Every time he hits that moonsault, one of these days, he's going to break his ankle. It's just, I mean, he hits it flush usually every time, but like I always just wince when I see him do that. Back inside, White suckered Page in with a flatliner, a German, and a sleeper suplex, and Hangman no-sold it into a lariat. Hangman went for the buckshot, and his leg gave out. It's like poor Rey Fenix earlier with his back. Everyone's bodies is failing them here in AEW. His leg gives out. White wanted the Blade Runner. Page spun out into a Deadeye for 2. Bullet Club goal, they ran distraction long enough for Prince Nana to show up, and he tried to use his crown. Page avoided it, but this allowed Jay White to get a schoolboy, and he stole the win. Cheap win there at the end, but I thought this was a very good match. You knew going in that either Swerve and or his cronies were going to get involved, just based on what happened earlier in the show. That should have been obvious. But the good news here, again, is that their feud is going to continue. But as great as their match was at Wrestle Dream, I think their match at Full Gear could be even better, assuming it happens at Full Gear. So I'm looking forward to the rematch. And then came the post-match. The AEW World Champion, MJF, who feels as if he has been relegated to second string. It really does. MJF is not the quarterback in this company. He's not, to me anyway, not being portrayed as the quarterback of AEW. He's the second string quarterback. And it should never be that way with your world champion. But out comes MJF. Walks out on stage. He demands that Jay White give him back the Triple B. And Jay White said, no one wants to hear from you anymore. They don't want to hear from MJF. They want to hear from J-A-Y. And the crowd was not being very kind to Switchblade. White said he was going to give the belt back, but since the crowd is so rude, he's not going to. MJF said that he knows White better than he knows himself because he's similar to who he used to be. White doesn't care about Robinson. He doesn't care about the guns. He's only using them as something that's right out of MJF's playbook. And MJF said he hates that he's trying to be a better man, but for the first time in his life, he's not waking up, punching a mirror, and he has earned the fans' respect. There are 2 things in his life that MJF cares about, and that's Adam Cole and the AEW World Championship. MJF knows that White is next level, but the day is not today. He demands that White give back what he did not earn. This sent Juice Robinson into convulsions in the ring. And White said that you have to earn the belt back, which he can, at Full Gear. And White said that MJF could just come and take the belt, but he has no friends. Juice Robinson brings up the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal taking place next week. They're having a Battle Royal. So they're doing this whole thing again where somebody can win the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which MJF has won it every single year, I think 3 years in a row. So anyway, that Battle Royal is taking place next week. And he said they're going to take MJF's precious diamond ring. And then Juice pulled out a roll of quarters. Yes, they went there. And he said that he'll break MJF's jaw next week. At that point, when he saw the roll of quarters, MJF had a meltdown, stormed off. The announcers brought up how MJF was bullied as a child, and he's told the story on television before about the roll of quarters, and they said that Juice Robinson had gone too far. Now, I'm sure, and I haven't checked, but I'm sure there are people on social media who might be upset about the roll of quarters stuff. Here's the thing. MJF is the one who introduced it. He introduced it actually more than once. He's told the story on television in his promos before. He introduced the roll of quarters as part of his lore, as part of his story. And here you have a group of heels who are using it as part of a storyline. So the way I see it, it's fair game. since they brought it into the storylines themselves and he's addressed it on television in his promos, it's fair game. They're heels playing off the story that MJF told about a very painful memory from his childhood. They are trying to play mind games with him. They are trying to get inside of his head. Is it tasteless? Maybe. But again, they brought it into play. I don't see that as being a very big deal. Here's the other thing about the roll of quarters. The roll of quarters is something that Juice has used even, it predates MJF. It's almost like his gimmick. But again, the way I look at what's been going on with MJF, Adam Cole got hurt. And they had to pivot in a different direction. The direction was MJF and Jay White. And I'm digging that. I'm looking forward to the match at Full Gear. When I say, though, that it feels as if he's a second string quarterback instead of the quarterback. Like, I know he's the world champion and, you know, he is effectively the quarterback of the company, as he should be. But just his positioning on the show, especially now, you know, Copeland came in, and I know he just came in. And so, of course, he's a big name and they want to establish him. But what they have him doing and his positioning on some of these shows, he's not coming across as the biggest star in the company. And he should always come across as the biggest star in the company because that is what he is. If MJF were to leave, and I don't expect him to, but if he were to leave, it would be as devastating a blow to this company as any other single person walking out. And more than Cody when he left. Right? He's somebody they cannot afford to lose. He's still very young, as great as he is. He can only get better from here. Right? He's still, again, got years ahead of him. And he is the world champion of this company. And I just think when you have somebody in that position, and again, you can look at what WWE is doing with Roman Reigns, where almost everything revolves around him and he's never even there. MJF at least is there every single week. But it just feels like he's been marginalized just with some of the stuff he's been doing and, you know, defending the Ring of Honor tag team titles. It's just, I don't know. And now with Cole's injury, I don't know, you know, past Full Gear, again, how this is going to change things and what they're going to have him doing. But you've got to keep him in a strong position on the show. You've got to have him in a position on some weeks where he actually headlines the show and he closes out the show, you know, instead of being in the middle of it. I mean, it's things like that that I think play a role in people's perception of someone on the show and the way that they're positioned on the show. Anyway. During a commercial, we got Act 2 of Timeless Tony Storm's silent film, Lover's Lament. We had Saraya against Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's World Championship. You know, Darbs in the chat says Tony knows that he's leaving. Again, I'm convinced he's already signed. I mean, I'm kind of surprised more people don't believe that MJF is already signed. I would be actually quite stunned to find out that he is not already signed. I don't think he's going anywhere. But if it comes out that, you know, there is going to be a bidding war next year and there's a possibility of him leaving, that is a huge L for Tony Khan, if that is the case. But again, I don't believe that is the case. Saraya and Hikaru Shida. After some early shots, Saraya got caught with a charging knee in the corner. Saraya ate an enziguri to the floor and she was crying out for Ruby Soho, who wasn't there because Ruby was banned from ringside. Shida locked on a torture rack and then slammed her down. A little bit later on, we had a masked person showed up at ringside. And it turned out that masked person was, in fact, Ruby Soho, the person who was supposedly banned from ringside. It's like Solo Sikoa being ejected from ringside in the main event of WrestleMania and then putting a hood on and coming back and factoring into the finish, right? Nobody cares about the rules. That's the problem with this generation. Nobody cares about the rules. We need somebody who can lay down the law on these shows. People don't take Tony Khan seriously. People don't take Adam Pearce seriously. We need a disciplinarian in that role. We need a real GM on these shows. So she unmasked Ruby Soho, spray painted her in the face. Tony Storm ran out. And Tony Storm whacked Ruby repeatedly with her shoes. Remember, you got to watch for the shoe. And so they spilled out, they brawled and spilled out into the crowd. Shida was left distracted by all of this. That allowed Saraya to take control during the picture-in-picture. Shida battled back with a running knee strike and hit 20 corner punches before hitting a missile drop kick. Shida wanted a suplex from the apron back into the ring, but Saraya countered with an arm drag onto the edge of the apron. And Saraya, once again, she was trash-talking, taking too long. That allowed Shida to hit a stalling German on the apron, and it was safe. I mean, as safe as a German suplex on the apron can be. But again, this is a woman with scoliosis and all the neck issues that she's had before. She took a very safe German suplex on the apron. And then Shida hit a Meteora from the apron to the floor. Back inside, Shida hit the running knee, but Saraya kicked out. Saraya blocked the katana, but could not avoid the question mark kick. Shida went up top. She ate a thrust kick, though, and then a nightcap. And Saraya only got 2. That's her Rampage DDT. Saraya grabbed the spray paint and the kendo stick. Paul Turner took the stick away. And Saraya sprayed Shida and then hit another nightcap, and again only got 2. And that was a convincing near fall. I like that. Saraya wanted a third nightcap. Shida, though, countered into a Falcon Arrow. Both women traded near falls before Shida got the deep cover, and she got the pin to regain the Women's Championship. And so Shida becomes the first woman in AEW history to become a 3-time AEW Women's World Champion. She got the confetti bath to celebrate. You know, when Saraya won the title, or even before she won the title, we're setting up for that 4-way at Wembley Stadium, and I said that if she wins the title, she's not holding it for very long. I don't see it being a very long reign, because if she wins the title, she's only winning it for one reason, and one reason only, because they're in the UK. Saraya is not full-time. She does not wrestle very often. And in fact, she won the championship, and look at what she has done since All Out, or All In. Nothing. I think she had 1 match. She's done nothing. And so putting the title on her was pointless for any extended period of time, because then you just end up with another absentee champion, and we already have enough of those in wrestling on the other show. We don't need more of those. So the best thing to do was to get the title off of her. I just didn't think they were going to put it right back on Shida, but I'm happy they did. It never should have come off her to begin with. So good for her. I'm happy that Shida got the belt back, and she got her moment. Saraya did, and so she should be happy. Now it's time to move on and give Shida some length with her run. And hey, maybe she can hold on to the championship long enough if Jamie Hayter comes back at the beginning of the year, right? You've got a Shida Hayter match waiting in the wings. You've got a program between those ready-made. It just comes down to when Jamie Hayter is cleared to come back. I mean, I was hearing February, and so I don't know. I don't know where she is on her timeline as far as her progress. I'm not even sure exactly what the injury is. They never said. Is it a knee injury? Is it a shoulder injury? I don't know. But let Shida hold on to the belt for a while. There's no need to rush it off for her to put it on somebody else. What I also liked about, the match itself was good. It was a good match. What I liked about it is that so many times before, we have seen the Outcasts and all their shenanigans and the spray paint and everything else, and all the stuff and the cheating to win, right? Because they're a heel group, and so that's what they do. It was nice this time to see that they did it, they teased it, but it backfired on them, and it didn't work. So that I liked. And again, Shida winning was a surprise to me, but it was a pleasant one. And this is the part in the show where Excalibur said, he got very somber. And Excalibur said that he had some sad news for all of us. And he told us that Tony Khan had run out of his supply of White Claws. So we had a moment of silence and a 10-bell salute. Now, in reality, he said that Chris Jericho was headed to the hospital with internal injuries after the attack earlier in the show by Powerhouse Hobbs. All those spine busters, I guess, that he kicked out of resulted in internal injuries. So say a prayer, form a prayer circle for Chris Jericho. He has internal bleeding. Hopefully they can find the source of it and stop the bleeding. And we all hope that Chris Jericho will make it out okay. Tony Schiavone had an announcement. He said he was very proud of this announcement. It's from Tony Khan. Said that this Christmas to TBS, coming this Christmas to TBS, over 50,000 AEW toys, over $1 million in toys to be donated to Toys for Tots. So that is very nice. I thought that they were going to announce something else. Earlier today, Mike Johnson on PW Insider, and I want to say it was In Demand, maybe it was the In Demand cable system, one of the pay-per-view providers was told to mark off the date of Saturday, December 30th. I believe that December 30th is a Saturday for an AEW pay-per-view. So we've heard a lot about AEW possibly adding more pay-per-views to its calendar. They already did with WrestleDream. But we've heard maybe they'll run as many as 12 shows a year. I don't know what the actual number will be. It's pretty clear they're going to run more pay-per-views in 2024. But it sounds like there may be another brand new AEW pay-per-view coming on December 30th. So that is something to watch out for. MJF was interviewed in the back by Renee, and he said that he really wasn't in the mood for talking. He said he just wanted to call his friend. And Renee left the scene. MJF pulled out his phone. He told his phone, call Roman Reigns. Oh, shit. Did I mix up the two shows? I think I did. I'm sorry. That happened on the other show tonight. I got you. I'm going back and forth so many times here between these two shows watching them. I get my phone calls confused. Now, MJF called up Adam Cole. And this time, unlike last week where it went to voicemail, this time he answered the phone. He had him on speakerphone. And he said, dude, where are you? I've been trying to get a hold of you. And Cole said, man, I'm still stuck at Roddy's house because he needed my help. MJF said, well, I needed your help as well. And Cole did not have very good cell phone service, and the call got dropped. So the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, they show up. Max Caster said that the three of them would team. They would be willing to team with MJF against Bullet Club Gold. MJF just stormed away. Billy Gunn asked Caster, who are you to volunteer us for something like this? And why do you want to hang out with this guy? And Caster said, well, you know, we came up together and MJF is my friend. I'm his friend. And he said he also likes it when he plays hard to get. You know, I'm all for them doing more with the Acclaimed. I mean, they were so over at one point, and they're still over. But again, there's these people in AEW who get really hot for a while, and then they get cooled off. And Wardlow is an obvious one, but like there's other people as well, whether it's Hangman Page, who got phased down for a while and wasn't really doing anything. The Acclaimed were super hot, and now they're popular, but their popularity is not what it was at the beginning of the year. So there's been a lot of examples of people and different acts on the show getting cooled down. If they want to do something a little higher profile with them, I think that's cool. But, you know, here we are again where MJF is hanging out with people lower on the card. It's like, where's this going here? I mean, is it a case where he's just going to round up a bunch of people to wrestle Bullet Club Gold in a multi-man match? Okay, if they want to get a big multi-man match out of it, I guess I understand that. But I don't know. It's just weird. Some of these side stories are a little weird, the way they're involving MJF in these things. Christian Cage. He was out to the ring for the main event. TNT title over his shoulder. Out to the ring with Luchasaurus. It was Luchasaurus against Adam Copeland. This was Copeland's in-ring AEW debut. Yeah, I mean, again, West Nile in the chat, Keith Lee, House of Black, Miro, Andrade. There's a lot of examples of this on this roster. And I know in certain situations it could be an injury. Maybe sometimes there's an explanation for it, but it happens far too often for it to just be a case of, well, all these people are hurt. You know, it comes down to the booking, and it comes down to how Tony Khan is sort of delegating different people as far as giving them time on these shows. And it's sad, you know, some of those names you just mentioned, I mean, it just feels like they're stuck in purgatory sometimes. Cage took the microphone. He said that unlike the Kansas City Chiefs, he didn't need any help to get his ring. Cage referenced what Copeland said last week about Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, one of these days, when they've bled you dry of all the information you can give them, they're going to drop you. They're going to leave you on the side. And he mocked Copeland for taking some ragtag group, dressing them up like it's Halloween, and convincing them that they're tough guys. So we got some Judgment Day slander here on Dynamite. Cage said the difference between what happened to Copeland and the difference between Copeland and him, Copeland tried to be their leader. Christian is not their leader. He's not trying to be their leader. He's their father. And he also recalled Copeland trying to put their team back together. He said that same sentiment wasn't there when he was being held back while Copeland was being pushed to the moon. And Cage asked him, where were your tag team aspirations then when you were on the ascent and I was down here, right? You didn't seem all that interested in reforming Edge and Christian. You were interested in being the rated R superstar. You were interested in live sex celebrations. You were interested in Vicky Guerrero and all these different things that Edge has done over the years. He said Copeland's career is on a downward slope. His is rising to new heights. Cage said that Copeland needs him. He does not need Copeland. So Christian said, I can't even blame you for being a fan. He said that he has a lot of fans around the world, and he knows that Copeland's wife, Beth, is a huge fan. Cage said that he was bored with it, so he would have his right hand of destruction take care of Copeland, and he said Copeland's daughters would be taken care of. He said, put some clean sheets on the bed because your new father is coming home, girls. That was a weird way of putting that. Put some fresh sheets on the bed, girls? Maybe I just heard that wrong. I don't know. Alter Bridge hit, and Copeland charged down to the ring. I'm still not used to him having the shorter hairdo when he comes out for these matches. Cage fled to ringside. Copeland went face-to-face with the Dinosaur. Nick Wayne, though, reached into the ring under the bottom rope, and he grabbed Copeland's legs. And Luchasaurus put Copeland down with a big boot. Once Edge stood up, Luchasaurus clotheslined him right in the back of the head. Referee checked on Copeland, who said he was good to go. He still wanted to go through with the match. Yeah, Tuxedo, I would like to think, I'm pretty sure that line was directed at Beth, but I don't know. He mentioned the daughters, and it was like, wait, did it come out wrong? Or I don't know. Yes, I'm sure he was referring to Beth. So Luchasaurus hit a tombstone pile driver on Copeland for a 2 count. Cage was shown he was sitting in a chair on the ramp watching the proceedings. Luchasaurus, he was dominating the opening stretch. This took us into overrun territory. Okay, so we were beyond the 10 p.m. hour now. Or in the 10 p.m. hour. Nick Wayne shoved Copeland into the ring post. Luchasaurus set up the ring steps outside and indicated that he was going to chokeslam Copeland on them. He came back with a DDT from the apron to the floor. So they end up back inside, and Copeland got Luchasaurus seated up on the top turnbuckle. He threw 10 punches at him. Copeland performed a superplex, and then he set up in the corner. And Christian started walking towards the ring. Nick Wayne wedged a chair in between the ropes in the corner. And so when Edge came in for the spear, Luchasaurus jumped over him, and that caused Copeland to crash into the chair head first. Fell backwards, and Luchasaurus grabbed him. He gave him a big choke slam. He covered him, and Copeland kicked out. After a comeback, Copeland charged for a spear through the ropes onto the steps. That's what he was going for, but Luchasaurus dragged him onto the apron instead. And Copeland countered into an Edge-o-matic. Copeland then followed with a spear. He came off the apron onto the ring steps, which again, they were kind of on their side. So he goes from the apron to the ring steps, and from the ring steps, he spears Luchasaurus on the floor. Nick Wayne took the referee, and while the referee was distracted, Christian Cage sprinted down to the ring with the TNT title. Copeland, though, ripped the belt away from him. He clocked Luchasaurus with it, and then he threw the belt back to Christian. So when Luchasaurus turns around, he sees Christian standing on the apron with the TNT Championship, and he thinks that Christian is the one who hit him. And Christian's like, no, it wasn't me. And then Luchasaurus turns around. Copeland connects with a spear, and he pins the dinosaur to notch his very first win in an AEW ring. After the match is over, Nick Wayne chop blocks Copeland. He puts the boots to him with Luchasaurus until Bryan Danielson hits the ring. So now we have 2/3 of our WrestleMania 37 main event in the ring together here in this other promotion. The numbers, though, were too much. He gets overwhelmed. Here comes Claudio Castagnoli. Here comes Wheeler Yuta. Everything broke down. Mogul Embassy ran out. All the members of the Mogul Embassy, they came down. Hangman Page ran out. He brawled with Swerve Strickland. It was pure chaos all around ringside as Copeland was laying out Nick Wayne with a spear. Christian is left tapping in the label lock to Bryan Danielson to end the show. So they're teasing that if that happens on Collision this Saturday, we're going to have a new TNT champion, because it is going to be Bryan Danielson and Christian Cage coming up on Collision. So this was a very chaotic ending to the show. I thought Copeland, it was a good match. He and Luchasaurus had a good match. Obviously, the end game here is to get him in the ring with Christian at some point, possibly for the TNT title if he doesn't lose it before then. And when this show was over, it felt to me, in some ways, like a pay-per-view, some of these matches. They got some time. We had some very good matches on this show. We had Hangman and we had Jay White. We had Swerve and we had Danielson. Orange Cassidy and Phoenix was a little on the shorter side, but again, it was good for what it was. The main event I thought was good. The Saraya match was good as well with Hikaru Shida. So you really had a whole 2 hours filled with great in-ring wrestling. If that's what you came into tonight looking for, if you wanted action, if you wanted the matches above all else, this was the show for you. Then we flip over, because there wasn't just one wrestling show tonight. We had 2 wrestling shows tonight. And over on NXT, when was the last time I did an NXT review here live on the channel? It's been a while. Well, I'll tell you what, though. I picked the right show for it because it felt like I was watching Raw or SmackDown. The show kicked off with the American Nightmare, one half of the new Undisputed Tag Team Champions, Cody Rhodes, making his NXT debut. He's tag team champions for what? I think 3 days now, 4 days with Jey Uso. And the crowd is already chanting yeet at him. I couldn't even tell what it was at first until he goes yeet. And I'll go, okay, this is yeet shit. He said he was here to make an announcement. Actually, he said he was here to make announcements, plural. He said that we've all been enjoying the women's breakout tournament. And at the conclusion of that tournament, the men will also have a breakout tournament. So that was announcement number 1. And he kept hearing people talking about a certain tag team tournament. And the crowd chanted for Dusty. And Cody said that, yes, indeed, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is also coming back. Now, he didn't mention when. He didn't give a date. But he said it was coming back. But one more announcement. He's full of announcements. He was like Tony Khan for one night. He goes, on the biggest night in NXT history, he has the privilege. And I honestly thought at this point they were going to have him be the one to introduce Jade Cargill. And they were going to trot her out there because, yeah, there's a prior relationship with him and Jade going back to AEW. And I'm sure he influenced her decision, quite possibly, in coming over to WWE. But it was not that. He said that Shawn Michaels has made it so that for one night only, he is the general manager of NXT. So those were the 3 announcements from Cody Rhodes here at the beginning of this show. He was interrupted at that point by the NXT champion Ilya Dragunov. And the crowd chanted happy birthday at him. Or maybe they were chanting happy birthday at Tony Khan, since it was his birthday too. He says that he couldn't pass up the opportunity to welcome Cody to NXT. He says his announcements bring hope to the future of the brand, bring excitement and breathe life into NXT. I mean, is he implying the show is dead? I mean, he's the champion. That's a bad look for him. He says Cody fights with a fire and pushes everything he does to the next level. And it's something he wants to do just like Cody. It's something he promised to do to push the brand to the next level with only the fire that the Mad Dragon can blow. And as soon as he talks about blowing, out comes Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. And Dominic says that they're patting each other on the back. The WWE Universe, they're here to see the greatest superstar that NXT has to offer, that being him. He says Ilya may be the NXT champion, but he does not compare to Dom. And so if Ilya wants to feel Cody's energy, ask him about his energy levels every time the Judgment Day has left him laying. You know, it's funny because we watch Raw every single week. And Raw is the Judgment Day show. They're all over the show every single week. When Priest and Balor had the titles, they were on SmackDown. We see Rhea on NXT most weeks. Dominic is there on most weeks. And now we have Cody on this show. And I'm watching this and I'm like, was I just watching this on Raw? We've got Cody. We've got Rhea. We've got Dominic. It's like they're just, you can't get away from it. I thought that was a Raw thing. Now I'm watching NXT and it's following me there. Ilya says, you know, his father used to work at a prison. And so he knows how to turn a barking dog into a sweet little puppy. I thought he was going to go for a 4-letter insult there. Or 5. 5 letters. Rhea whispers to Dominic, who suggests that an NXT Championship match against him to prove he's the man that he says he is would be a good idea. Cody says that Dominic is not willing to put his North American title on the line. Is that true? Rhea says Dominic's been carrying the WWE on his back all year. He just won the belt back again. Ilya says that today's a day of celebration. And as a gift to himself, he could not imagine anything better than eating a man like Dominic alive in the ring. And Rhea, darling, he says, he's going to smash her boy. Cody says, well, you know, I'm the guest general manager. So guess what? That match for the NXT Championship is official. And here's the problem. He knows the Judgment Day. He knows that they have strength in numbers. There's always somebody lurking around. So he says the match needs a special guest referee. And no, it's not him. It's the hottest star today in WWE. The special referee for this match is going to be L.A. Knight. So as if they did not stack the show enough, they added L.A. Knight to the show as an unannounced surprise. I just laughed. All I could do is laugh. I mean, literally put the whole roster on this show. The only people missing, I feel like, were Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits and the LWO. Although I guess we could have used Gunther on the show too. But it's just like, it's just hilarious to me. Just throwing everything they possibly can at this show. Doing everything in their power to ruin poor Tony Khan's birthday. So then we had Asuka in her NXT return against Roxanne Perez, and Shotzi showed up to sit in on commentary. Shotzi announced that she is going to be hosting Halloween Havoc again, as she has in the past. She's going to be hosting in 2 weeks, and she's going to be hosting night 1, but she will not be hosting alone. She is bringing a friend, and so it will be Shotzi and Scarlett hosting Halloween Havoc. I think the two of them both love Halloween. They put something up on their YouTube channel. They went to I think it might have been a haunted house or something. And so I think it was Shotzi and Scarlett and maybe a few other people that came with them. Roxanne hit Asuka with a slap and a flying shoulder tackle. Asuka blocked a suicide dive with a forearm, and then she hit Roxanne in the corner with a hip splash. Perez fired up, hit Asuka with a shotgun dropkick. And Roxanne caught Asuka with a side Russian leg sweep and then caught her at ringside with a suicide dive. Later on, Perez went for a La Magistral cradle into a jackknife pin, but Asuka reversed it into a rear naked choke. Perez rolled into a 2 count, but Asuka would not let go of the hold. She hit Perez with a spinning heel kick and a back fist combo. And then Asuka picked up the win after a buzzsaw kick. So hey, we found one brand where Asuka can actually win matches. So then when the match was over, Asuka, in a show of respect, she bowed to Roxanne. And Kiana James got into the ring to go after Perez, but Shotzi followed her, and then she put Kiana down with her Fisherman's DDT. They only gave these two women 6 minutes, and I was looking forward to this match. You know, Roxanne is a former NXT Women's Champion. She's very good. Asuka's great. We think back to Asuka's first run in NXT, right? The greatest women's run in that brand there's ever been. And they gave them 6 minutes. And honestly, I thought that this was very underwhelming. I thought the match was very underwhelming in that respect. I know these two can have a better match. Unless they're planning on keeping Asuka around, and it's always possible because they just keep throwing main roster talent at the show more and more every week. I didn't get the sense that Asuka is going to be sticking around, and so even though I know they have a better match in them, we may have to wait until Roxanne eventually gets called up, because I didn't get the sense that we're going to get a rematch anytime soon. We had Tyler Bate, we had Butch, and we had Ridge Holland against Gallus in a pub fight. The baby faces wrestled in their normal gear. Gallus came out, they were dressed in jeans and t-shirts, like a street fight. All sorts of weapons were just littered all over the ring. And for the pub part of this match, there was a table set up on whiskey barrels, kind of like a bar. They all fought through a split-screen commercial break. The show comes back full screen. We have a standoff with all 6 men. And that led into a slugfest. The baby faces, they all did the Sheamus 10 beats at the same time to each member of Gallus. The crowd was counting along. Wolfgang, at one point, he went for a big flip dive. It's not usually that you see him doing a flip dive out of the ring, but he did a flip dive over the ropes. It looked like he hit his back pretty hard on the apron on the way down. We got a triple submission spot from the baby faces. Butch accidentally hit Tyler Bate. He should be feuding with Tyler Black for the World Heavyweight title. Hit Tyler Bate with a kick. Wolfgang power slam Butch. Mark Coffey piled on top of Wolfgang, and they both covered Butch. But in flew Bate with a swanton bomb to break up the pin. So there was another table that was set up in the ring. The heels took over. Joe Coffey put Butch on the table, and Coffey leaves the ring. He goes and he grabs a mug of beer. And he gets back in the ring with the beer, and he's standing over Butch. Tyler Bate gets in. He makes the save. He takes the mug away from Coffey, and he smashes it over his head. Glass shatters. Butch snaps some of Coffey's fingers. Babyfaces then did the Shield triple powerbomb spot. They put Coffey through the table, and Bate covered Coffey for the 3. We've seen something similar like this on SmackDown before with Sheamus. I don't remember what they called it. They might have called it like an Irish pub brawl or something, where they had the barrels outside and they had the bar set up. It might have been between him and Drew McIntyre. I don't remember. But multiply that by 3. And so instead of having 1-on-1, you had 6 guys out there basically beating the hell out of each other. That's what this was. So it was a chaotic brawl. I thought it was fun for what it was. I thought this was fine. We got a video package promoting the NXT Women's Championship match coming up in 2 weeks at Halloween Havoc Night 1, with Becky Lynch defending against Lyra Valkyria. And in this video package here, it was narrated by a man with an Irish accent.
Thank you, and shoosh. Thank you, and shoosh, and thank you.
Thank you, Daniel Malcolm. And thank you, by the way, also to Daniel just gifted a membership, Mike E. Mike E is a new channel member thanks to Mr. Malcolm, so thank you very much. So this video package was narrated by a guy with an Irish accent who laid out all of Becky's achievements, and he noted that Lyra started her career 10 years ago, or 10 years later, I guess, when Becky started. They also had footage of Becky helping train Lyra back in 2018, I think, when Lyra, I don't know if Lyra, I guess that would have been maybe when she was just signed by WWE. But the voiceover person noted that both women have had similar career paths. I thought it was very well done, actually. They come back live. Mackenzie Mitchell's in the back with Lyra, who starts to talk about how important this match is with Becky Lynch, the most important match of her career. Tegan Nox, who just lost to Becky on Raw last night, Tegan Nox shows up and says that Lyra's match has to wait because she wants her shot. She wants her rematch. She came so close. You got to wait. The next shot belongs to me. And Lyra wasn't having any of that. She says, this is the biggest match of my career, and I'm not letting anything get in my way. And now I believe the two of them are going to be having a match. I think right up there. I think they said the match is happening next week, but we had up next, after Naya's hole here.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro.
Samoa Bro. Thank you, Zachariah. Who was that? It was Brian Anthony. Gifting 5 channel memberships. That is very cool. Thank you, sir. We have 5 new channel members. Say thank you, Brian. Up next, it was the debut of that young whippersnapper, John Cena, making his NXT debut. The crowd sang his song as he came to the ring. They showered him with chants of thank you, Cena. My, how times have changed. If you know, you know. My, oh my, how times have changed. Cena said the crowd gave him the most street cred that he's had in 15 years. He talked about Cody being GM, LA Knight being a referee, the place being turned into a pub, the crowd singing his theme song. That's what makes this place beautiful. He said it's been long overdue for him to arrive here, and he's honored to be in front of all these fans. Cena said everybody is trying to kick down the door to appear on NXT. He said, yes, we are Raw, we are SmackDown, and we are NXT. He got the whole crowd to chant along with him. Cena talked about Carmelo Hayes. He talked about how Melo shows respect and he defends his friends. He said he is honored to be in his corner tonight. And he was interrupted by Bron Breakker, who was not very happy that Cena was there. The crowd showered Breakker with Bron Breakker sucks chants to the tune of John Cena's theme song. So instead of John Cena sucks, now it's Bron Breakker sucks. And Cena joked about how he's very happy the lyrics changed on his theme song. Breakker talked about it being a very big night in WWE. He said that the crowd didn't come to see John Cena, they came to see me. And he said that Cena is fooling everyone. And at that point, it was difficult to make out what he was saying because the crowd was chanting something that USA Network didn't like. So they kept muting the audio every 2 seconds, which is just freaking annoying. They did that, by the way, like 3 different times on this show. Cena told him his glaring weakness is his attitude. He lacks respect. He didn't come out here to run him down, but now that he's here, he said this is a teachable moment. And he's excited for his match tonight. He's here to respectfully wish him good luck. And Cena put his hand out for the handshake, and instead, Bron punched him in the face. He set up for the spear. Best spear in wrestling, by the way. Best spear in the entire business right now, today, Bron Breakker. Closest thing to a Goldberg spear that we have. He was setting up for the spear. Cena sidestepped him. And then he got Bron on his shoulders for the attitude adjustment, but Breakker slipped out, and he left the ring. And it would have been very easy for them to just have Cena lay him out, play his music, and it would have made Bron look like a geek here. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. He escaped. Had to save it for a certain someone else at the end of the show. This was a basic rah-rah speech from John Cena putting over NXT and the NXT crowd. It did feel like a big deal to see him in the Performance Center, which we've never seen before. And I thought Bron Breakker, for what limited dialogue he had here, I mean, just his presence, he's really come into his own. He's very confident now. He projects confidence as a heel. I think this heel run has done wonders for him. It's just they don't really have a whole lot for him to do. But I thought he held his own here. Backstage, the NXT Tag Team Champions, Tony D'Angelo and Stax, met up with Cody the GM. And Stax pitched an idea for Cody for a 10-team battle royal because they're looking for their next challengers for the tag team titles. He said the final 2 teams remaining in the Battle Royal would then have a match, and the winners would go on to face the family at Halloween Havoc for the championship. Cody said he likes the idea, and he booked the Battle Royal for next week, and he even gave it a name. Cody said that they're going to call it the Bada Bing, Bada Boom Battle Royal. Elsewhere, Baron Corbin, in a backstage interview, cut a promo about the NXT Championship match later tonight. Actually, coming up next. Thankfully, though, before he could actually say much of anything, he got cut off by LA Knight's music out in the, I can't really call it the arena, but we'll call it the arena for the purposes of what we're talking about here, because I don't know what else to call it. In the room, in the gym, they played LA Knight's music because he was out as the special guest referee for Ilya Dragunov one-on-one defending the NXT Championship against Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Rhea Ripley, early in the match, got up on the apron, had Knight distracted, which allowed Dom to get the advantage heading into the picture-in-picture. Back from a break, Dom hit Ilya with 2 of the 3 amigos. Ilya staggered Dom with an enziguri, and he gave Dominic some chops in the corner, followed by a couple of snap suplexes. Dragunov hit Dominic with a delayed pump handle German suplex. Dom was able to come back, though, and he gave Ilya a very loud chop to the chest, which got "you fucked up" chants from the crowd, which again was muted by USA. Cover your virgin ears. I assume it's an FCC thing. I mean, it's basic cable. Come on. You know what's weird? When Raw goes off the air, what is the show that airs now? Is it Raw or maybe it's Dynamite? Now I don't know. It's either Raw or Dynamite. I'm almost positive it's Raw. There's a show that comes on with, oh God, I don't know his name. He's a comedic actor. He was in Hot Tub Time Machine. What is the guy's name? I think he was on The Office. Anyway, whatever that show is that airs, they're dropping F-bombs like crazy. It's like, wait a minute. The crowd chants bullshit on a wrestling show, and you mute the audio every 2 seconds. But then as soon as the show goes off the air, the very next show or movie or whatever that comes on, they're dropping F-bombs like it's going out of style. And apparently that's okay. Craig Robinson. I couldn't remember his name. What is the name of that show, by the way? What show is it that I'm referring to? It could be Dynamite. It could be after Dynamite that I'm thinking of. But whatever it is, I mean, like, it literally comes on the air and he's just dropping F-bombs like crazy. Meanwhile, we have to sit through half the show being muted. It's ridiculous. Ilya responded with some Kobashi machine gun chops. Dominic fought back. He connected with a 619. Dragunov kicked out. Dominic did the Eddie Guerrero shimmy. Froze, though, when Dragunov glared at him. And Dragunov dragged Dominic to the top rope. He hit him with a superplex. He called for the Torpedo Moscow. Dominic, though, rolled out to the floor. He gave Ilya a spiked DDT on the apron, and Dragunov was able to come back and reverse the momentum. He hit Dom with a power bomb. Then he hit him with a standing H-bomb, which is the diving forearm that he does, which looks brutal, by the way. Ilya was going to go for the Torpedo Moscow, but Finn Balor and JD McDonough ran out. LA Knight dumped Finn off the apron. He dumped Knight down, or McDonough rather, with a blunt force trauma. Trick Williams showed up outside. He pulled Rhea off the apron and he's holding her. And they kind of stared at each other for a couple of seconds, and then she freaked out. He put her down. Finally, Ilya hit Dominic with the Torpedo Moscow, and he retained the NXT Championship. No surprise there. After the heels left, Baron Corbin came out. And from behind, in the ring though, Ilya Dragunov is attacked by Dijak, who lays him out. Dijak then exits the ring. He gets up in Corbin's face and he told Corbin, "I beat you to it." He goes, "Dragunov is mine. I have him next." You know, LA Knight is one of the best talkers in the company, and they didn't give him any mic time on the show. We heard from Cody. We heard from John Cena. We heard from The Undertaker. We heard from Asuka in a backstage segment. We heard from Dominic. We heard from Rhea. Didn't hear anything from LA Knight, which was kind of strange. But as far as the match, it's Ilya Dragunov. So you know immediately going into the match, it's going to be at the very least a good match. It is impossible for this man to go out there and have anything but at least a good, and honestly, even a good match with him is disappointing. Right? He's that good of a performer. He just does all the little things perfectly. His stuff in the ring it looks brutal. It's like this controlled mayhem. He always and when he's selling a beatdown, he's selling it with all of his mannerisms and everything. It feels like he's in a war every time he's in the ring. I love everything about Ilya Dragunov and again, his work in the ring. But I feel like if I just put him over here, it's actually doing a disservice to Dominic, because I pay attention to what he does in the ring. And Dominic was really good here. And Dominic has been really good for a while. He's still very young. He's still, got a ways to go as far as, mastering all the things that there are to master. And they brought him up. He completely bypassed NXT. He's spending more time now at the Performance Center than he ever did when he first came into the company. But he improves week by week by week. And the thing with Dominic also is, obviously him joining the Judgment Day is the best thing that could have happened to the Judgment Day and to his career. And he gets to sit under the learning tree with Finn Balor every single week. But look at the people that he's working with, right? Dominic is the one who may be working more than any other person on the roster. I would love to know the total number of matches that he has so far this year and compare it to who is number 2. It would not at all surprise me if Dominic was number 1, or at least in the top 3. He is on every show. He's on Raw. He's on NXT. He's on SmackDown. He's on the pay-per-views. He was on NXT pay-per-view. He was on NXT No Mercy recently, wrestling Trick Williams. But you look at the people that he's working with every week. He's working with Cody Rhodes, and he's working with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Ilya Dragunov and his father, and like all of these people. It's impossible for you not to get better working with people like that. So he's in just this fantastic position now where he's part of one of the top heel factions in the entire company. He gets face time more than almost anybody else. He gets more face time than Roman Reigns does on the show. But he gets to learn from all of these people. So every time he goes in the ring, he gets better. And he's nailed that character down, the stuff with him and Rhea. Like, again, I can't say enough good things about the turnaround that he's had over the past year. It really is amazing. And, I remember getting a question from somebody on one of the streams. It might have been a super chat or something. This was months ago. And I think they asked me to compare, or it might have been like a buy or sell or something, Dominic or Hook. And I mean, that can mean anything. What do you buy or sell, Dominic or Hook? I mean, you're talking about future potential. You're talking about them today. But I think in either instance, the answer is Dominic. Hook was really over with the audience there for a while at a level that he no longer is. I mean, the people like Hook and they cheer for him when he comes out, but it's another example, right? Somebody who was seemingly white hot at one point and now isn't so much. But I think in terms of the ceiling that they have, I think could Dominic Mysterio be a world champion one day? Absolutely. And I don't know that I would have said that when he was still a babyface teaming with his dad, because we didn't get to see the side of him that we see now. Dominic Mysterio is a future world champion. I don't know what year that will be. I don't know how far in the future it will be, but it's been fun to watch. And again, I want to give him his credit here too. As great as Dragunov was, I thought Dominic was good here also. Now we had Carmelo Hayes was in the back. Yes, Eddie would be proud. I tell you what, he's got that mullet. He really does look like Eddie's son. Maybe there is something going on there. I don't know. Carmelo's in the back. He's sitting down with John Cena. And he can't believe that Bron Breakker came out and disrespected him like that. Cena says, don't worry about it. Just focus on your match tonight. Trick Williams comes in. He thanks Cena for coming to NXT. And Melo apologizes to Trick for not being there for him last week when he lost his North American title. And John Cena, he breaks the tension with a little bit of humor. Like, you can see me. So Melo says that he's beating Bron and then they're going to get back Trick's North American title. Melo goes to leave and Trick has this look on his face as he's watching, off in the distance, I guess. He's watching, Melo walk away. He's got this look on his face like he's got a lot on his mind. And Cena says, are you okay? And he asks Cena, he goes, when did you know that it was your time? And Cena put his arm around him and he said, let's talk. And they walked off. We got an NXT Anonymous video. Now, I don't really mention it when I talk about NXT because it's just not a significant part of the show. But for a while now, they've been running these NXT Anonymous videos. We don't know who's recording it. We don't know, who's behind it. It's like their version of GTV. This NXT Anonymous video showed us a shot of Paul Heyman sitting in a room backstage at the Performance Center, and he was talking to somebody, and then we see the person that he was talking to and trying to recruit, I guess, was Ava. He was talking to The Rock's daughter. I don't think that's leading to anything, but I thought that was a very interesting segment, given his position with the Bloodline. Then we go to the NXT parking lot. The most dangerous part of America is the NXT parking lot. And an SUV pulls up. Out of the SUV walks Jade Cargill. Her second appearance. She appeared on the pre-show at Fastlane, stepping out of a car. Triple H was there to greet her. This time it was Shawn Michaels who was there to greet her. And he welcomed her to NXT, and they went inside. So thankfully, Jade Cargill, in her first appearance in the NXT parking lot, survived the parking lot. And we never saw her again. So much like Fastlane, we had one member of DX there, bring her in. Here we had the other member of DX bring her in to observe the show. But it doesn't look like she's actually going to end up on NXT. The belief, for those wondering where is she going to go, the belief is that she will end up on Monday Night Raw. Now, Triple H is going to be on SmackDown on Friday to make some kind of announcement. I don't know if it has anything to do with Jade or not, but if she's going to Raw, that would seem to indicate that that announcement on SmackDown wouldn't be that Jade Cargill is coming to Raw, because why would he make that announcement on SmackDown? But that's probably where she's going, which means we may get Jade Cargill against Nia Jax. Could very well happen. Baron Corbin approached Cody Rhodes. This is too much Baron Corbin on this show. He approached Cody Rhodes in the back. He told Cody, "You owe me." And Cody wondered, why do I owe you anything? And Corbin said Cody owes him for something that happened in Brooklyn once. What happens in Brooklyn stays in Brooklyn. Cody said Corbin is making a good case for himself by being the last person who beat Ilya Dragunov. If he wants a shot at the NXT Championship. Corbin said, that's true. And that's why the match needs to happen at Halloween Havoc. Cody said, well, Dijak made a good case also by beating Corbin to the punch tonight. So Cody said that Corbin is going to get his match if he can beat Dijak, and the winner of tonight's main event between Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes in a triple threat match next week. Elsewhere at the PC, Dominic was with Rhea, and he was icing his jaw. He ran into Nathan Frazer and several other members of the NXT roster. Frazer mocked Dominic for mocking NXT and then getting beat. And Rhea told Dominic not to mind him. He was like, "Who are you?" And she said, "Don't mind him. He's a nobody." We had Lola Vice against Danny Palmer. This was a women's breakout tournament first round match. This was rough at points, which is not surprising given the experience level of some of the women in this tournament. But Danny Palmer, she's got some very impressive athleticism. I'm not surprised that they had her hanging out with Sol Ruka for a while there before Ruka tore her ACL and disappeared. Lola dodged a corkscrew moonsault, and then she reversed the moonsault into a triangle choke. Danny reversed the triangle into a jackknife pin. And when Lola kicked out, she caught Danny in the jaw with a spinning hook kick for the win. I did not realize that Lola Vice has a 4-1 MMA record fighting for Bellator. I did not know that. But when I was looking up some information and doing some research on her, I realized that she indeed has an MMA, a very impressive, albeit small, MMA record. Bron Breakker was doing bicep curls backstage. Paul Heyman showed up behind him and told Bron how, I worked with your father, I worked with your uncle, and he said, I'm the wise man because I see the future, and I see the future as Bron Breakker being in the main event of WrestleMania. Hey, Wapatapa, you are hereby banned from Collision. CM Punk says so. CM Punk has to, because it's the only job he can get. So he sees him as the future main eventer at WrestleMania. And he will be, by the way. He's not alone in that sentiment. I think it's pretty clear Bron Breakker is probably going to have multiple WrestleMania main events in his future. Heyman said the only man standing in his way is Carmelo Hayes. Bron said, look, I don't care if it's Melo. I don't care if it's Cena. I'm breaking them all. And then he left. And then Paul Heyman pulled up his phone to his mouth and he said, call Roman Reigns. We got another vignette of the Mystery Man watching clips on an old TV. We've been getting these Brian Pillman Jr. vignettes. So this was the latest one. And he's watching clips, and we can see that it's somebody with long blonde hair, and he's wearing a similar shirt that his father used to. I mean, from behind, you would imagine it's Brian Pillman, come back to life. So he's watching old Pillman clips, and Pillman Jr. talks about how his father was one of the most infamous superstars in the business. He talked about how people always talked to him about how his dad was a trailblazer, and everybody has all these fond memories of his father. Everybody except for him, because his father passed away. He was only 4 years old. He never knew his dad. He said being a WWE star was the last thing that he wanted to do. He said he tried football, he tried lacrosse, he even got a college degree. But he couldn't escape the business. It's in his blood. He said he had to embrace the business that brought him pain. Now he will inflict pain on it. He says he's nobody's junior. And he will take the name of the man that actually raised him, and that name is King. Now, he did not tell us what his first name is going to be. The name that he is going to go by is Lexis King. And that is partially at least a tribute to one of his sisters. I think it might be the sister that passed away. I think that's where the Lexis name comes from. So there is a family history behind the name that he's using. He will not be using Brian Pillman Jr. Jade Cargill looks like it's going to be Jade Cargill, but he will not be Brian Pillman Jr. I am not fond of the name, but I'll tell you what, because when I first heard the name, I said, that's not a very good name. But I'm glad what they did here is they gave him a backstory, and they allowed him to go and explain, this story, why he does not want to take his father's name, why he does not want to be Junior, right? That's a Vince McMahon thing, by the way. I'm nobody's Junior, don't call me Junior. He doesn't like it when people call him Vince Jr. So that is totally a Vince McMahon thing. Not that Vince McMahon is the only person who probably dislikes being called Junior. But I like that they at least took the time to really explain the rationale behind the name change. The name, though, at the end of the day, unless they call him, Mud, or they call him, Xavier fucking Xylophone, I don't know, some stupid name. It's not important. The name is not what is most important here. What's most important is his progression. Because we saw him in AEW, and in AEW, he wasn't progressing, right? He was wrestling on Dark. So what kind of progress is he making wrestling on Dark? Being at the PC, being in NXT is actually the best place for him to be right now. If he's going to make it, he's going to make it based on what he learns and how he advances being in NXT. If he doesn't make it, he wouldn't be the first. He would not be the first second-generation star, someone's kid who comes in and doesn't end up making it. His father had great success in the business. I hope he can find that same level of success. But let's not kid ourselves and pretend that Brian Pillman Jr. is some in-ring phenom. He's not. He's very average. So him being in NXT is the perfect place for him to be. With the people they have there, they will try to get the best out of him and get the most out of him and bring out of him what AEW could not. And I actually thought his promo here was very good. The way they shot this and his delivery of it, I thought it was very good. So we will have to wait and see how he progresses. But yes, let's not pretend that Brian Pillman Jr. was some kind of phenom, some young phenom in the business. People, I think they saw the name and they saw how much he really resembles his father. And I think they almost want to will it like, oh, he's the next Brian Pillman. No, he's not. But that doesn't mean he can't end up being a star and finding success in this business. The main event was Carmelo Hayes with John Cena in his corner against Bron Breakker with Paul Heyman in his. Paul Heyman introduced Bron Breakker. You know, Breakker would have made a great Paul Heyman guy years ago. I know Heyman doesn't do that anymore. He's doing the bloodline stuff with Roman Reigns. There's no end in sight. He'll be doing this for the next 3 years. So that time has come and gone for him to be a Paul Heyman guy, but he would have made a good one. After a break, Breakker had Melo in a grounded bow and arrow stretch. Melo rolled to his feet. He was able to get out of it with some punches to the gut. Bron came right back with a knee to the ribs. Both men brawled across from each other on the apron. And Bron used the front suplex to give Carmelo a snake eyes on the top turnbuckle. Bron gave Melo a catapult under the bottom rope for a 2 count. Breakker hit Hayes with Cena's 5 moves of doom. But Melo blocked the 5-knuckle shuffle. He hit Bron with a couple of stinger splashes in the corner. Bron crotched him on the top rope. And Melo shoved Bron off the top. Bron jumped back up to hit Melo with, it was either an avalanche DDT or an avalanche facebuster. It could have been either one. And after that, Melo sidestepped a spear and he sent Bron hurling into the ring post. So now we were in overrun territory. As I said, both shows had overruns tonight. So it was past the 10 p.m. Top of the hour. Bron blocked nothing but net with a gorilla press slam for the near fall. Breakker tried to hit Melo with the steel steps outside the ring, but John Cena comes over. And John Cena takes the steps away for Bron Breakker. Now that would have been enough for him to just take the steps away from him. Not only does he take the steps away from him, he kicks him. Now, Bron Breakker, unless I missed something, didn't put his hands on John Cena. He disrespected him, but he didn't put his hand. Well, actually, that's not true. He did punch him earlier in the show. But I mean, as far as during the match, you know, John Cena is this fine, upstanding guy. He just kicks this guy. So then Solo Sikoa, another unannounced main roster star, comes out to go after John Cena. And Cena starts to brawl with him, and they end up brawling to the back. Melo hit Bron with a code breaker at ringside. In the ring, Melo hits Breakker with the nothing but net leg drop off the top rope, and he picks up the win. So while Melo is celebrating his win, Breakker attacks him from behind. He cuts him in half with a spear.
I have one pair of skinny jeans, and I'm going to wear them every week just to piss you off.
Oh, Big Dave. Dave Batista is going to wear those damn skinny jeans because he knows it pisses you off. Daniel Malcolm. Thank you for the $35. Man, Daniel's on fire tonight, man. Gifting memberships, dropping super chats. It means a lot after this very exhausting night, so I appreciate that. But, as I said, he cuts Melo down with a spear, right? The sore loser that he is. And Breakker gets on the microphone and he says, win or lose, there's only one badass in WWE. And that's when the lights go out and we hear the gong. The lights go back on. We could hear a motorcycle engine revving up. And so out comes the Undertaker on his, I guess it was a Harley. I don't know what brand it was. We'll call it a Harley. Comes out on his Harley. This was hilarious because if you've seen the Performance Center, it's not exactly a big place. So he comes out on the motorcycle and he does not have very far to go. So he's going very slowly and he goes around the ring and then he parks it in front of the announcers and he kind of gives a little hat tip there to Booker T on commentary. He gets in the ring. He's in his street clothes. He's in his American Badass. He's in his Mark Calloway clothes. He gets up in, or actually Bron gets up in his face, I should say. And he calls him an old timer. And Bron said that there's only one badass in WWE. Undertaker takes the microphone. And yes, he did come out to Kid Rock. For those wondering, He came out to Kid Rock the last time we saw him on Raw as the American Badass. He doesn't come out to Limp Bizkit anymore. He comes out to Kid Rock. So Undertaker takes the mic and he says, I've been watching you for a long time. Said, you're going to be a special talent one day, but today is not that day. And he floors Bron with a right hand, and Bron sold this great. He goes down. Taker then grabs him by the throat. He gives him a choke slam. Bron went up for it. Vic Joseph on commentary said Bron Breakker just got made famous by The Undertaker. Taker then stands over Bron and he says, young fella, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. There's always an older, bigger, badder badass waiting around the corner, and I'm the baddest of them all. And at that point, he helped Carmelo Hayes, who was down in the corner. He reached down, he helped him up to his feet, and he celebrated with him to close out the show. So the main event, as far as the main event goes, it was a good main event, but it was a television match. It was not a PLE worthy, again, for a show that was built up in the way that it was, and for this to be a big promoted, heavily promoted main event, this was not a PLE worthy match, which we sometimes can get on the television show. And we've seen these two at their PLEs before, have matches that are much better than this. So this was good. The Undertaker stuff, it was some good nostalgia there at the end. I know some people are going to be upset about him laying out Bron Breakker, and, that makes Bron Breakker look bad. And you got the old guy going over on the young guy. Yes, he laid out Bron Breakker, but he also effectively endorsed Carmelo Hayes. He helped him to his feet. He celebrated with Carmelo. Carmelo's the babyface. He's the one who won. So he did kind of put his stamp on him there at the end. And the thing to remember with Bron is not long for NXT. I feel like I've been saying this for months, and yet he's still there. But he has done all that there is to do on that brand. He is spinning his wheels at this point, but he is going to be on the main roster sooner rather than later. So it's like somebody leaving the territory. They go out on their back looking up at the lights, and it's okay for them to lose because they're moving on. I look at it the same way. I don't know how much more time they're going to keep him down there for, but it's not going to be that long. We got the Royal Rumble coming up. Maybe they're going to wait until the Rumble. Maybe Bron Breakker will be a surprise entrant in the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble, and that will be his introduction to the main roster full-time. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. But we are heading very soon into WrestleMania season, and I expect Bron Breakker to be on Raw or SmackDown. So him getting chokeslammed by The Undertaker as the heel in this segment is not a big deal. It's not a case where Undertaker, he buried him. He buried Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker is going to be just fine. If Bron Breakker was the NXT champion and he got chokeslammed by The Undertaker, then I might say, you know what, that's ridiculous. But that's not what happened here, so I would not freak out about that. Overall, I thought they used the big names well. They largely used them to put some shine on the younger talents. The question is, though, did they do enough to keep the newer viewers who may have tuned in? I expect this show tonight to have done over 1 million viewers. I think my prediction when I made predictions last night on the Raw stream, I think I said 1.1 million for NXT, and I think I may have said what did I say? 795,000 or something, somewhere in the 700,000 range for Dynamite. NXT is going to win the night. I don't have any doubt in my mind about that. But the question for NXT is, all those people who tuned in to see John Cena and Cody and Undertaker and people like that, did they like what they saw? If they don't watch NXT week to week, are they going to come back and tune in for the show next week and the week after and the week after? My guess is no. I don't see the numbers for NXT changing. They're going to go right back to what they were doing. So long as they keep throwing main roster people on the show, they're going to be in that 800,000 range every week. So I don't think it's a case where they probably created any new fans. But again, this is about one thing. It's about elevating NXT's profile enough to make as much money as they can on that next television rights deal. That is why we are seeing all of these big names in the Performance Center in front of 200 people. That's the only reason. better the numbers look, the more attractive the show is, the more money they make. It's very simple. As far as this Tuesday Night War that we had tonight head-to-head, I'm exhausted, number one. Number two, I don't ever want to do this again. And if we ever get a head-to-head again, I'm not reviewing both shows in the same night because it's overload. Just with Dynamite alone, Dynamite just throws so much stuff at you. It's just ridiculous. Daniel Malcolm, thank you for activating Bree mode. Hurts my soul. At the end of the day, this was about having fun. People will be on one side or the other. Some people don't like NXT. Some people hate Tony Khan and they hate AEW. And again, the tribalism. We've talked about this. There was a lot of that going around this week. And I even saw some tweets from people like, oh, we won. We won. What'd you win? Who's this royal we, by the way? We won. Like the NXT fan. Oh, we won. You didn't win shit. You had nothing to do with this. Go sit in the corner. It's not about you won, we won, I won. The fans won. The fans won in this respect. The fans won because we got a fun, newsworthy night of wrestling. I thought both shows were very good, but they were just very different shows. Like I said, one had more to do with star power. The other one had more to do with the action in the ring. So you got a little bit of something different from either show. And we also had The Undertaker and Edge standing tall at the end of each show. And I don't know what that means, but it is 2023, and I thought it was worth pointing out that we had The Undertaker and Edge standing tall at the end of each of these two television shows. Now, here's what I'm curious about. Usually at this point in the stream, we get to the Twitter poll and we see what you guys thought of tonight's show. Obviously, we have two polls that went up, so let's see what you thought. Let's see who you thought had the better show. We're going to begin here with Dynamite. And Dynamite, 71% thumbs up and just shy of 29% thumbs down. That's with almost 2,000 votes in. This is for Dynamite now. So with almost 2,000 votes in already, 71% thumbs up. And let's see how this compares to NXT. NXT, 77% thumbs up, 22% thumbs down with 1,700 votes in. So a few votes shorter of where we are in the AEW poll, but so far NXT is winning, but not by much. They're both between 70 and 80% thumbs up. That's why I said the fans win. We got two good wrestling shows tonight. What's not to like? So NXT is winning so far, but the margin is not as great as some people might have thought. So there you go. You want to voice your opinion on these shows? Go ahead and tweet. Go ahead and vote. Very interesting. NXT ahead by a little bit so far. That might look different in the morning, though. Lady Fire Panda says, we won. Shout out to Issa, NYC Demon Diva, who says, my poll, which Cody do you prefer? Drunk Cody or GM Cody? Yeet. I don't prefer either one. I prefer Drunk Jey Uso, as long as he's not behind the wheel. We need more of that. We need more Drunk Jay at these media scrums. Man, he was feeling it, man. You go back and watch that video. Oh, he was feeling it. He was like, man, I'm sitting next to Cody Rhodes, man. I'm sitting next to Cody Rhodes, man. Yeet, yeet. Ugh. That was Jey Uso, literally Jey Uso at the media scrum. All right. Okay. Enough of that. Let's go ahead and check out your super chats. Yeet. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. We start with crypto and poker. Wardlow has MJF written on his wrist tape. Does he? Yeah, I didn't even notice. I was for obvious reasons, I was focused on so many other things. I didn't really pay attention to what was on his wrist tape. Wouldn't that be interesting? I wonder where we heard that idea from, if they do something with him and MJF. Oz and Glorious, I think tribalism is just fine in wrestling and or politics when one side of the fence is owned, operated, booked, documented by predators. Well, we know which side you're referring to there. Winter's Paw, Orioles got swept. I'm sad. NXT cheered me up a little bit. Well, I know that very painful feeling when it comes to your baseball team letting you down. So my condolences. Winter's Paw also says, I'm excited for Lexis King. Very thoughtful name. Fire Panda says, always great to see my favorite wrestler ever, The Undertaker. Can't wait for the complaining and excuses to fly when the ratings come out. Oh my God, you know, tomorrow, I'm gonna hide under a rock tomorrow. All day, until those numbers come out tomorrow, my God. Can you imagine when those ratings hit tomorrow? The absolute shit show that is going to be on social media. Ugh. Josh B. With Christian's current heel run, do you think he's over enough to beat MJF for the title and have MJF chase him for a while before winning it back? Christian does not need to be the AEW World Champion. Christian has the TNT title. It's perfect. MJF is the world champion. There's plenty of other people in contention for the world title who would make a fine AEW World Champion. The TNT title is something that Christian can hold, and he can do everything that he's doing now. It's perfect. He doesn't have to have the world title to do that. I would love to see an MJF Christian match at some point, but he does not need to be the AEW World Champion. Oz and Gloria says Bullet Club Gold, clowning the Undertaker's entrance. Nick Grasso, I'm very happy for Shida, and now maybe she can have a long reign. Also, Roddy in that segment with Cole said TV is for the devil. Is that a tease, or am I overthinking it? I think you may be overthinking it. Oz and Gloria says, hit that like button. That's damn right. That's right. Hit that like button. What the hell's wrong with me? M-Sun, did you hear Tony is donating 50,000 AEW action figures to charity? Finally, those Hangman figures are moving. Very good. Very good. Well, they will no longer be warming the pegs, I guess, right? Nick Grasso says, not crazy about OC winning the international title back, but it could set up a possible hook heel turn, and he takes the title, or since Jack Perry's suspension has been lifted, maybe he gets involved. Yes, Jack Perry is no longer suspended. He's just not being used at the moment. I said last week, I said, when is the next AEW show in Chicago? If you want to know when to bring back Jack Perry, that's the place to do it. You do it in Chicago. The Real CS, Brian Pillman Jr. made his NXT debut, sort of. Yes, he did. We talked about that. Anderson Blitz, let's all agree that tonight was a W for wrestling fans. My brother and his friends watching on both TVs, while my dad and I watching in both phones. Darth Panic. After the bald asshole tweet, Triple H puts his feelings aside and signs CM Punk. Thanks for the dual reviews. You are very welcome. Abyssal Zones. Not a regular AEW watcher, but saw the Dynamite main event for Edge's debut. Super off-putting seeing Luchasaurus use the Tombstone as a regular move. But where have you been? People have been using the Tombstone as a regular move in this company now for a long time. He's not the only one. In fact, Takes me back to the Sammy Guevara MJF match from Dynamite years ago, where he hit a middle rope tombstone. Maybe it was a top rope. Might have been an avalanche tombstone. And it was not the end of the match. Rodimus Prime with the $18 super chat. Me personally, NXT won the night. Melo got the big endorsement from both Cena and The Undertaker. Can't get any better than that. That said, congrats to Shida on becoming the new champion. Drew Johnson with that $50 super chat from earlier says, Solomonster, you're the man. Good to be back. HBK, baby. AEW still better than NXT. You know, as big of a Shawn Michaels fan as you are, I'm surprised that you would have that opinion. You would think the other way around, that you would support HBK as the head booker, the Vince McMahon, if you would, of NXT. See, Drew is able, that's what I like about Drew. Drew is not a complete tribalist, because he can have love and respect for Shawn Michaels and also say, yeah, you know what, the other show is better. There are some people that will just pray at the altar of one person. And no matter what they do, no matter what they say, they can do no wrong. Dan Richards, I streamed both shows, NXT on the big screen, AEW on the computer, because tribalism sucks. Enjoy both products for what they are. It's very well said. Bender McSimpson, is Jay White the modern day Bret Hart? No. There is no modern day Bret Hart. There are people who may remind me of Bret Hart in the way they work, but there is only one Bret Hart. Just like there is only one Shawn Michaels, there is only one Steve Austin. I mean, you're asking these people to fill some very big shoes. Roberto Benet, 2023. Jay White is just a slimmer Triple H. Triple H never had abs the way that Jay White does. Jay White's all cut up. I never saw Triple H like... Well, I mean, that's not true. In 2000, which was the best version of Triple H, I would say he was in the best shape of his career. He got bigger later on, but bigger is not always better. Hear that, ladies? All right, Roberto, thank you, sir. Let's go to Julie Scissors, or Julio. Julio Scissors with the $10. Does he? Does Julio Scissors? Base Beer is God of Seduction. Renee called Copeland Edge on the pre-show. Uh-oh. That's 10 demerits for her. Jeremy Thunderstrikes. Before MJF wraps up his heel run, I hope we get a program with him and this current version of Christian Cage. I feel like the promos alone would slap. Yeah, again, I wouldn't mind seeing the match. I just don't think Christian needs to be the AEW World Champion. Omar. Dynamite was superb tonight. Perhaps they should go head-to-head against NXT all the time. No, they don't. Daniel Malcolm says, yeet. I agree. Yeet. Thank you for the $12. Base Beer is God of Seduction with the $15. JD could use another member or two in the group. They're great, but I can't buy into them being as dominant as they are with just Dominic, Priest, Rhea, and Finn.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro.
Thank you, Samoa Bro. Drew Bronson joining would be nice. Well, I mean, look, I mean, they're already trying to work McDonough into the group. Although you probably still wouldn't buy into them as being tough guys with McDonough in there, but you don't want to start overflowing them with people. The Judgment Day does not need 6-7 people in the group. I think they're fine the way they are. Zachariah Sitchin with the 1999. Rhea cracks me up. First, she called Dragon Lee Batman and Axiom Power Ranger. But anyway, did you watch Rhea or catch Rhea whispering sweet nothings to Drew on Raw last night? Could it mean they do kick Priest out and replace him with Drew? Now, I don't see Drew in the Judgment Day. I think after that backstage thing where we saw Rhea and Drew in the background during the Ricochet segment. That's when Drew, I think, went to go confront, was it Jay, right? It was Jey Uso. And, he was trying to throw down with him. He was trying to start something with him. So it could have been as simple as, maybe asking Drew to go, confront him. I mean, I don't think it's an indication he's joining the Judgment Day. It wouldn't fit. Drew McIntyre in the Judgment Day, I don't know. I don't see that as a good fit. Noel Mulligan. Hi, Solomonster. I saw Metallica live twice in Dublin. To my surprise, Hulk Hogan was not on base. Well, he retired a number of years ago. His bass playing days came to an end. He is still bass player emeritus for Metallica. Zachariah says Tony Khan having meltdowns on Twitter does not help his cause. Don't sell it. But I gotta give him credit for doing the right thing and taking the belt off Saraya. I am still missing Jamie Hayter.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro.
Hey, Skywalker coming in with the 1999. We got Luke dropping some love. Thank you. Dr. Bropio, to be fair, networks have the right to censor. Oh my God. That's awful. Wapatapa, thank you for the $7. Daniel Malcolm with the $35 skinny jeans super chat. Will Chisholm, thank you for the 5, Will. Says, with that Pillman promo, it felt like loose cannon, or is it me? I mean, he was giving off some vibes, but again, I think if people are expecting him to be his dad, it would be kind of nice if one day, on promos, he could have that ability to kind of draw people in the way that his father did. His father really did a fantastic job of convincing people that he was a nut. So you never really knew what Pillman was going to say when he got a live mic in his hand, right? That was the beauty of the whole loose cannon character. If he could find that within him, and we can start to see that level of charisma and promo ability from him, then I think he'll do well. But again, they have to be able to bring it out of him. It's just something we never really saw in AEW. He had that one really fiery promo on MJF that time. But I think it's a little unfair, I think, if people are going to, I'm not saying you, but like some people are going to compare him to his father. It's a tough thing. When you come in second generation, third generation, you get compared to the people that came before you, were better than you. It's tough sometimes to fill those shoes. M. Mills, thank you for the $7. Very kind of you. Paul Carpenter with the 5. Shawn Michael. He said Shawn Michael. Should have tweeted back with that Undertaker saying, I got 3 words for you. Go beat yourself.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro.
That behind the scenes with Kane promo. Oh, that's right. They filmed that in Saudi Arabia. It was one of the outtakes. That's right. I forgot about that. Daniel Malcolm, thank you for the $25. Mark Kwan, 1976, says, we won. Go sit in the corner. Tell him, Solomonster. Tell him every week. They don't listen. Kiddo Hudson. I thought Jimmy was the drunk one. Yeet. NYC Demon Diva. I can't stop laughing at the Jey Uso sound effect. It's not a sound effect, it's my voice. It's like I have a soundboard with Jimmy sounds on here. That's what he sounds like. Just listen to him. That's what he sounds like. Go watch that press conference the other day. He had those titles, man. He couldn't sit still. He was fidgeting around the entire time. He was so happy to have Cody as his tag team partner. He's like, this guy right here, man. This guy right here, man. Cody Rhodes, man. I'm partnered with Cody Rhodes. I can't believe it, man. I just can't get over it. Like, he was he was on another planet, and Cody is just sitting there, like his head in his hands, like, oh my God, yeah. How much of this stuff did I give this guy? Lady Fire Panda with the 20 bucks. Solomonster, I have a totally 100% great idea. Do an emergency stream when the ratings come out. You totally won't get any crazy basement dwellers in the chat at all, and everyone will be 100% civil and kind to each other. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that would be quite the shit show. DEH Sires, Lola Vice is too smooth. Her kicks look great. Yeah, I mean, I thought she looked good in her match. Again, I mentioned Danny Palmer she's very athletic and the things that she's able to pull off. They have a lot of really raw talent in the pipeline there in NXT, especially when it comes to the women. And some of the other women they have in the breakout tournament. So you look at someone like Tiffany Stratton and how she's come along in the last couple of years. If they could find even a handful of people like Tiffany who have an athletic background, who just take to this like a duck to water. Imagine having Tiffany and then another 3 or 4 women just like her. And you combine that with the women they already have on the roster, like Bianca Belair. They have Becky, and they have Io. Eventually they'll get Dakota Kai back, and Jade Cargill's going to debut. And they have a good nucleus of female talent there. They're not always used the right way, but they have a good nucleus there. Abyssal Zones, I've heard it said that this is the best run of Christian's career. Is it better than his run as NWA champion or World Heavyweight champion in 2006 and 2011? Well, I mean, for me, I think it's surpassed it. I was a little hesitant to say that because I was a big fan of his 2011 run. But I would put this up there at the top. Skywalker, buy or sell on Stone Cold Steve Austin's greatest rival, The Rock or Bret Hart? You know, it's a tough one because the Bret Hart one is really the one that made his career. But Rock and Austin are so linked together. And it was so much fun to follow their entire rivalry that I would have to go with The Rock. I think I would have to go Rock. Oz and Glorious, normalized tribalism. Thank you for pulling grueling double duty tonight, Solomons. You are very welcome. Darth Panic, please make the Jey Uso sound a super chat. Thanks for the 12 bucks. We'll see. Boomerang. Are we getting a Jey Uso super chat in the future? It makes me laugh every time you do it. Boy, I didn't realize there was such a groundswell for this new super chat. I'll have to make it a high enough amount, though. I mean, you hear that every 5 seconds. I think it's going to get very old. We'll see, though. I'll consider. I'll consider. If the people want it, you know, I mean, I got to give the people what they want. So, I mean, hell. Grant Hudson with the 1999. Thank you very much, Grant. He says, how Bron got up for Taker's chokeslam gave me flashbacks to how Brock used to sell it in their feud. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking this. He didn't get the height on it that Brock got. But I know what you're thinking about. You're probably thinking about that one chokeslam in particular where Brock, I mean, I've never seen somebody go up as high as he did for it. And then he bounced. I think it was the SmackDown post-show one year. Before one of their pay-per-view matches. It might have been before their chain match at Judgment Day one year. Overall, enjoyed both shows, and as a fan of Edge and Taker, seeing them close both shows took me back to 2007-2008 SmackDown. Zachariah Sitchin, the best was when Cody said, "Do you feel him, sir?" Yes, that was actually. That probably was the best part. Jay was going on. He was talking to somebody in the media. And he was saying, you feel me? You feel me? And Cody just goes, do you feel him, sir? In like the whitest way possible. That would be me. Will Chisholm, I'm joking, but I blame Brian Pillman Sr. for fans thinking everything is a work. Fans keep chasing that loose cannon high. It's a good point. It just means he was that damn good at convincing people. Hey, he convinced Eric Bischoff, right? He got out of his contract. He signed with WWE. DEH Sires. Was 2019 to 2022 WWE booking the worst ever? No. That sounds to me like you missed 2018 Monday Night Raw. I would tell you to go back and watch it, but I wouldn't put anybody through that kind of torture. Juan Ocampo, must be hard to be carrying the water pails for both companies tonight. Let me know which is heavier. I'll help you out if you are getting tired. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Juan. I will let you know if my arms get tired. But see, my arms don't get tired because, you know, hit the weights, bench, squat, jerk, burpees, all those things. And Will Chisholm with another 5. It's crazy how we have seen the 4 horsewomen grow, but it's going to be crazy how the WWE women's division looks in 5 years. I mean, all the tools are there, man. I mean, the talent is there. So not all of them will develop into stars, but again, all you need is a handful. That's it. Hey, DEH, thank you for the $4.99. He says, biggest wrestling pet peeve to me is when you were trying to sell a near fall and they kick out with their feet. I love how Roman Reigns sells near falls. I think one of my biggest I have a lot of them, but I think one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling is, and I'm sorry to say that Gunther is also guilty of this, are the people who, when they're being pinned, are plainly looking up at the referee. So they're laying there and they're waiting. And especially if it's a tag match or there's going to be somebody coming in to make the save, the camera's on them, they're looking up, and they're just waiting, and I guess hoping that the person will come in and make the save. That sort of thing really just bugs the crap out of me. So you'd never catch Bret Hart doing something. It's just little things like that that I find annoying. It's pronounced Valte, says Turtlehead. I stand correct. I stand correct. Yeah, the Brock one, that's what I thought. The Brock one was to build to their chain match. And it might, I don't know if it was Judgment Day or what was the October pay-per-view back then? Wasn't it No Mercy? Maybe it was No Mercy. But I'm pretty sure that was right before their chain match on that pay-per-view. Austin mentioned that as well. The whole staring at the referee during a pin attempt. Yeah. I mean, you can argue it by going, well, if you're being pinned, you want to maximize the time that you have before you kick out. So you'll lay there, you'll catch your breath, and then, you know, when the referee hits 2, you'll kick out. But still, that you have so many people who kick out at the 2.999 mark. And yet they're laying there and they're just laying there waiting, you know, just waiting for the next spot. Like, at least put a little bit of effort into it, you know, try to make it look somewhat realistic. But there's a lot of pet peeves in wrestling these days, especially when it comes to kicking out of big moves, but we'll save that for another time. The goal tonight, the likes goal, I knew I should have set it higher. It was only 400 likes. I knew you guys would blow past it, because you guys are awesome. We are well over 600, so thank you for that. That helps the video out a lot. And on this supersized Tuesday review, let's go ahead and be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
It is a supersized Be the Booker. Not really. It's just a regular Be the Booker, but it's on a Tuesday night for a change. Jake Finn coming in with a super chat says, hashtag save heels. Thanks for all your hard work, brother. Well, you're very welcome. And heels may yet be saved. They're shopping the show around. They're trying to get the show picked up by another network. So don't give up hope. Even though Stars canceled it, it might get picked up somewhere else. All right, we begin with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. One of the greatest of all time in the ring. The Dragon. Still don't know how he used to do that entrance. He had to swallow, it's like lighter fluid that he would put in his mouth just so he can get that flame. Ricky Steamboat one-on-one with Yokozuna. Now, I will say, if it's Yokozuna in this photo at this size, it might still be a good match. Probably not going to be that good. He just let his weight get far too out of control. But Prime Yoko, when he was actually more mobile, him against Ricky Steamboat, that would have been a hell of a match. Unfortunately, he let his weight get way out of control, and I don't even understand how he was cleared to wrestle. You know what? In a lot of states, he wasn't. State commissions wouldn't let him. I mean, you can't really blame him, can you? All right, Women's Be the Booker. We have Rosemary from Impact Wrestling. Rosemary one-on-one with Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross, man, what the hell happened to her? Where's she been? Boy, did she vanish. Rosemary against Nikki Cross. I think that would be a fine women's match. 2 for 2. We had a 3 for 3 sweep last night. Can we actually do it back-to-back? When was the last time we had back-to-back 3 for 3 night? I just jinxed it, didn't I? Yep. I probably just jinxed it. We begin. Yep. I knew it. Billy and Bart, the Smoking Guns. Well, you know what, though? Let's not give up hope. Billy and Bart were not that bad. Billy and Bart are going to take on the British Bulldogs. You know what? I'm giving that the bell. I think that would be a very good match. And we have officially gone 3 for 3 on back-to-back nights. Can you believe it? I can't remember the last time that we did that back-to-back. Unbelievable. Tony Khan should let me book Dynamite next week. Clean sweep. I love it when that happens. Oh my goodness. We got a couple more super chats slowly working their way in here. So I will wait for them as everybody yeets in the chat.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther. All hail the mighty Gunther. Yukio rules. I have officially knighted you the way that Ari Emanuel and Endeavor have knighted Triple H. They have taken the booking privileges away from that sex pest. They have given it to Triple H. That's why we had an actual good episode of Raw last night. I hereby dub thee.
Hey, Yukio, thank you, man. For the $50 drop. Says, nice to catch a stream live. Solomonster, you're the best. Yukio, you are awesome. Thank you for that very, very much. I'm glad that you could join live. Not usually live on a Tuesday, but you got me tonight. And Dr. Bropio, that fan with the sign that said stop using Canadian destroyers during the OC and Phoenix match had me laughing. Props to that fan. Well, you wanted to know another one of my pet peeves. I happen to agree with that fan. I would like to shake that fan's hand. Yeah, Fire Panda, it is the last stream of the week. I should just remind people. Friday night is the House of Glory Friday the 13th show. And in fact, we have Minoru Suzuki, who it feels like a lifetime ago that I started this review. I talked about his match. He is on the show on Friday. We got Rocky Romero coming in. He's wrestling Mike Santana. We got a whole bunch of matches. And I will be on commentary. I'll be doing play-by-play this time for the show. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but that will take me away from SmackDown. So I will not be streaming after SmackDown on Friday. So anything important on the show, it is the season premiere, so there'll be some important things. Roman Reigns is back. I'm sure Issa is just, she is so excited. She's wet with excitement, I'm sure, for Roman. Aren't we all? He's going to be back on SmackDown on Friday night, and Triple H will be on the show. He will have some kind of announcement. We don't know what. So whatever happens on that show, we'll talk about it on the podcast on Sunday. But yes, the next time that I am live will be Monday. So Raw next Monday, we'll be back live right here. DEH Sires says, speaking of near falls, what is your greatest near fall that you remember? To me, it is Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, the Tombstone. WrestleMania 28, end of an era Hell in a Cell match, the super kick into the Tombstone. That's a hard one to beat. That is a hard one to top. Austin, is this the only NXT show stream that you are doing? Yes. There's a special episode, and there's a reason for me to go live again at some point. I'll consider it. But anything on NXT, we usually get that covered on the Sunday show. The schedule is Monday, Wednesday, and usually Friday. Yeah, people seem to be in agreement. Super kick into the pedigree, I think, wins it. Hey, Duffs, thank you, man. Have a good one. Roman is going to call out on Friday. He's going to call out. He's not feeling well. He's a little under the weather. Maybe next time he'll show up. That'll be fine with me. Then I can cover it. I'll be back next Friday. Anyway, this has been a very long night, but fun night. I don't ever want to see it again, but it was a fun night. I am very happy that you guys were able to hang out with me tonight on a rare Tuesday. Thank you very, very much. And again, if you are new here, I hope you stay. I hope you enjoy your stay. I hope you subscribe. Please like this video on the way out. You like me. You really, really like me. Issa says that he is going to smash everyone. She's going to be very upset when AJ Styles comes back and smashes Roman Reigns and gets his title match in Saudi Arabia, which is still what I predict. Got to watch out for AJ. Maybe he'll be on the show on Friday. We'll see. Last time we saw him, he got taken out in an ambulance. Tune in to the Hog Show on Friday. If you've never checked one out before, I think you'd enjoy it. It streams on not Fight anymore, but Premier Streaming Network. So if you can't be in the building on Friday here in New York, you can tune in live and hear me on commentary. It should be a fun night. So until then, be well, stay safe, and I will be back with you live here on the YouTube channel very, very soon, barring any breaking news, of course. You never know in wrestling. You have a busy week, all of a sudden big news breaks. I end up going live on a Thursday or something. It's been known to happen. Lord knows it's been known to happen before. But I'm hoping it will be a relatively quiet week for the rest of this week. So, big hog guys in here? Good. I hope so. I hope you'll tune in. You should come down, Turtlehead. I don't know where Turtlehead is, but you should come down to the arena one of these days. Come by the table, say hello, show your face. We'd love to have you. Why are people screaming at me? What is going on here? Why are people screaming at me? Oh, that would be why. I was looking in the chat. Oh my goodness. I've been ambushed.
We're having a party here on the street. Where Barry Horowitz at? Where is he?
I have been ambushed at the last possible moment by ABK, who has dropped a $205, almost 206 actually, $205 super chat. Sorry to drop in late. Thanks for the double review. ABK, man, you could not have been more fashionably late if you tried. You got in right at the buzzer there. I thought people were yelling at me like I did something wrong. So why are they typing in all caps? Why are they shouting at me? ABK, you are the man. ABK is the freaking man. I don't know what else to say, man. I hope you have a very good day. I'm sure it's probably morning where he is. So that is a fine way to end this stream. Absolutely a fine way to end this stream. And Skywalker says, let me cash in on my super chat. Well, you just did. There you go. You cashed in your money in the bank here on the stream. And we got one more coming in, huh? Look at this. Boy, we got people, everybody cashing in money in the bank here. Jonathan Cole has a message popping up any second now. Do you think Carmelo Hayes is a future WWE champion? I don't. I do, however, think that Carmelo Hayes could be a future world heavyweight champion. So as long as that title sticks around, I think that I could see him holding that world heavyweight title. Do I see him with the undisputed WWE championship? I don't. I think there's a much better chance Bron Breakker ends up with it than him. I would love to be wrong, though. I think Carmelo's great. I think he and Bron both could be tearing it up in main events on the main roster in the next couple of years. But I'm going to say no on that. And I hope that answers your question. And Lady Fire Panda has a $3.99 coming in. No message. Fire Panda's got, look at that. Fire Panda's rocking that red skull. Look how sweet that looks. That means Fire Panda's been a channel member in here for like 2 years. She got the red skull. That's what I like to see. All right, I think I got everybody, right? I got everybody. Awesome. All right. Yeet. I'll see you on the stream next week. Hey, Data and Boys podcast. I see you. $1.99 watching Gen V. Spinoff of The Boys. I still haven't watched The Boys. I can't watch the spinoff until I see The Boys. Thank you for the super chat.